What is going on, guys? Today's guests on the podcast are Frederick White and Scott Witty. Before we get into it, I wanted to quickly say somebody forgot to hit record for the first minute or two of the podcast. Some producer around here, I don't know who it could have been, but they forgot to hit the record button. So I wanted to give them a quick introduction. Witty, photographer for 1320 for 10 plus years. Fred, videographer for 1320 for 10 plus years. You guys have seen them at events. They've covered every event you can imagine. We sat down, we talked to them about some really awesome stuff, some cool insight on the travel and the work that they do and all those cool things that I wanted to hear about. So we talked with them a little bit. But guys, I wanted to quickly say thank you so much for all the support that this podcast has gotten. We have blown up so quickly. I have gotten to talk to so many awesome people because of you guys. This whole studio is because of you guys, and I want to keep growing it so that we can have the largest and coolest automotive, I don't care about largest, but the coolest automotive podcast on YouTube and Spotify and all those good stuff. But guys, thank you so much. If you are enjoying it, please like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell your neighbors. We are trying to grow it so that we can constantly get the best guests and put out the best entertainment possible. It has been awesome. I have learned so much, and I have put out so much awesome videos that I hope just stay forever and continue to get watched, because some of them not just should get watched so that I get monies, but should be watched because the information that has been put out is invaluable to the automotive world and some of the things that we will be coming across in the next couple of years with automotive and with the EPA and stuff. There's so much information that we've put out, and I am just so excited to be able to learn it myself firsthand and then share it with everyone. And hopefully you guys see what we're trying to do here. So thank you again so much. Let's get into the podcast. Frederick White and Scott Witty. Let's get to it. Okay, so Fred and Witty, travel spots. That is like everything on my brain lately is like, where are the coolest spots to go if you're a car guy? Around the world, around the country, and I feel like you guys have already been there.
We've been a lot of places. So, internationally, I don't know, where was your favorite place internationally that you went?
Well, I mean,
he went to Germany.
Yeah,
which
that's
I was
the
jealous
thing.
with.
Germany is probably the most important one for me, just because I liked circuit racing. Drag racing's awesome and everything, but if I were to build a race car, it'd probably be for circuit stuff, just because that's kind of what I enjoy. So Kyle and I went over and stayed at this hotel that was on the Nürburgring. So you like literally go out on the balcony and you just look down, and there's GT3 cars running the GP course, and I thought that was pretty rad. And then we drove over to Belgium from there and went to the 24 hours of Spa practice rounds and somehow finagled our way into media vests, and I ended up down in the pits with Kyle and on the start line and everything, and so that was pretty cool. But I guess as far as drag racing, Brazil was pretty sweet. I haven't been to all the places.
Brazil was a pretty sweet trip.
Yeah, Fred's probably done the most traveling besides Kyle, I guess, at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, more than likely.
Fred's done a lot more.
So going to Sweden for the Stockholm Open, that's probably one of my. They do it so it's just they do it different over there. It was the most well-run, I guess, cash day style race I've ever been to, and it was just awesome the whole time. It was just awesome, and the guys that had us over there and showed us around the city and everything, just everybody was so awesome over there.
Isn't that weird that it's a street cash days, but it's basically renowned and well known enough where, like, if somebody thinks of like Stockholm Open, they probably think it's at like a racetrack, like a sanctioned body event.
Right. No, it was just so I think this year they actually had to move it to a track situation because the cops got so bad in recent years. A car got impounded, and I think they crushed it. So there was just a lot of. A
bit closer between you guys.
Good?
No, it looks good, but I don't know.
Okay.
I'm guessing. We're running gun on this whole deal here. Try to bring mine down to make sure that yours is louder.
It's Cooper's first threesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I only got 2 mics, and of course, like my 3rd time using the mics now. I need a 3rd.
Well, you're becoming the Joe
learning.
Rogan of automotive podcasts over here.
I mean, that would be freaking awesome. I need a Jamie.
Yeah.
I need somebody standing behind there that can make sure that I'm not being an idiot and maybe look stuff up, because I would love to pull up some of the Sweden racing.
Yeah.
And they're using basically like top alcohol cars out there, right?
So I'm doing a quick. I could go on for hours about Stockholm Open.
Let's get a nice little long story about it, because I'm super interested.
Okay, so Stockholm Open, it started in 1982 or 3, I believe. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry for anybody that's Swedish and watching.
Ish.
It happens the same time of year every year, but it's never like prepared for or anything like that. But it's a Stockholm Open, so they also do like 2 other cash days style events for like a small tire and a big tire, 2 separate things. But the Open is open to anybody. You can be all-wheel drive, small tire, big tire, basically a pro mod on the street. You can be whatever and show up to the Open and race. So you go to the driver's meeting, you find out who you're drawing, okay, and it's between you and the other guy. And whoever's name got put on the thing or they do a coin flip, one or the other. However the first one happens, one guy, the first round you have to get done, you have to get your race done in the first 2 hours. So once the driver's meeting is done, you have 2 hours to get that race done.
So they kind of leave it up to the drivers at that point?
Uh-huh.
So like the event promoters and then the drivers kind of have to figure out how they're going to get their race done.
Oh, yeah.
And then you come back and you're like, I won.
So real quick, they don't do it like this anymore. Like I said, they moved it to the track, but it was just so well thought out as far as the cash days go. So you draw each other first round, and let's say I'm racing you. Okay, first round, you beat me first round. You call a phone number and say, "Hey, I beat this guy." They put you on. They move your name on to like the bracket. You move on to the next round. Now, if you called in before the other guy called in that moves to the bracket with you, you get to pick the race spot.
Oh, so if you get your race off quicker,
you get...
It's kind of like running the faster ET, you get lane choice at a race.
Sure, but you get any section of the city choice. So if...
It's like Need for Speed.
Okay, so once driver's meeting's broken up, you have 2 hours to do your thing, and anywhere in the city that you can get an 8th mile hit is a race spot. So that's you. It's up to you to find them. It's up to you to race and make it all good and everything. But you call in, you won. You called in and you're in the north part of the city and you don't want to drive to the south part of the city. You say, well, you got to come up to me. So the guy that you race next has to come to you. After the driver's meeting and you unload your cars and you go do your first race, trailers or the cars cannot go on trailers. You have to drive them from race to race to race all night.
And how far, like, our spread are we talking about? Because, like, I imagine, like, Houston, which is, like, an insane spread. Like, you could be, like, 6 hours
maybe,
from someone.
No. It wouldn't be that bad. About 30, 45 minutes. Sure.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but you have to, and then you keep moving on that way. And they have starting crews, which was, like, a flagger, a couple security guys to keep the starting line clean, and a finish line guy. And they had, like, 3 or 4 of these starting crews. And you could call and say, we want a starting crew here, and they'd come and do it. Or you could just get the race done on your own, but it's up to you to figure out who won and who jumped and all that stuff. So, yeah. And also, if you had a starting crew at your race and you think the other guy jumped and they didn't call it, there's a complaint number you can call. And they'll do a review. It was so thought out, dude. It was just so thought out.
I mean, I've been to, like, sanctioned races that don't sound that
I
well
know,
put together,
dude. That's what I'm saying.
which is a little frustrating.
And so they race all night, and then the finals normally got done at like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. So, and then after that, the winner does a huge burnout, and it's cool. But
so sunrise, what kind of like cars and combos are mostly there? Is it like LS's, big blocks?
So not when we were there, not so many. I think there was one car that was LS powered, and it was LS turbo, which was very rare over there. A lot of old school stuff, so a lot of nitrous, a lot of big block nitrous stuff. Over there, they had like Audi S2s, which is like a little all-wheel drive 2-door coupe. Inline 5-cylinder, and they could build those to be like 1,200-1,300 horsepower. Mm-hmm. So, and even in like 800-900 horsepower, they get out the hole and they're really like all over the place. The one year I went 2 years, I think. And the second year I went, the final was Audi S2 versus basically literally like a Pro Mod 57 Chevy. Big block, nitrous, big tire car.
I think I remember the black one.
Yeah.
Yeah, some like black car that had like zoomies out the side or something crazy. Like looked like not something anybody should ever be driving on the street.
No,
even
like Tom Bailey would look at this.
Drives.
Tom Bailey would look at this thing and be like, "You drove this on the street, buddy?" Like it's not like, but they went all night and they were never on a trailer. Like you can't go on the trailer, which I think is the coolest thing. And and it's all over the city. And the thing about Sweden is it's not like here where you go to maybe an industrial park where nobody's around and it's just straight roads and like nobody's there and you can race there all night. They don't have spots like that there. Their industrial parks are terrible roads, potholes everywhere. You can't do that. So the only straight longest parts of the road in the city are on the highways. So the race cars pull up, and then they stop, and then all the cars behind them are there to watch the race. They're spectators. They stop, they get out of their cars, and they go around the starting line. The cars burn out. They do a burnout. They come back. Normally they do 2 burnouts, water burnout and then a track bike burnout. And they come back and then they launch. And then after that, everybody gets in their cars and leaves. So you could drive by a place and people are getting ready to do a hit. And then 5 minutes later, you come back by, you'd never know they did anything.
That definitely sounds like a probably a once in a it's weird because I think about when I think about these, like, what would I go to? I want to imagine myself taking my wife there. And like I think about like summer nats and like, okay, like you could bring your wife there. That sounds like something that you kind of go with your buddy.
Yeah.
On like a bachelor weekend.
This was an event that I was like the first time we went, I was like, we need to tell like the boys back home about this so we can get like some American team to bring a Fox body LS turbo over there. I was like, we got something for these guys. And like there was talk of like a couple of street outlaw guys that wanted to go over there and at least watch it one time because they saw because even they respected how good the street racing was.
Yeah.
Like, because it's wild how they do it over there. And at this point, this was in 2015 or 16. I had been filming for a handful of years at that point. I'd filmed street racing, all that stuff over here. It was like second nature to me. The first time we went over there and there was a car that was going to be in the open that was doing a test hit. We're like, okay. So we went along with them, and it was the guy and like 6 or 7 cars with him, like crew guys and the guys work on the car, and they blocked the like I said, the only longest straight parts of the road are on the interstate. So it's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and this race car is driving down the street, and he stops. And then 7 cars like spread out and block the road. And I get out and I'm watching like traffic, like behind me, like cars just keep coming. I'm like, we're just gonna do it here? And he just like did his burnout and they like back him up all nice and slow. I'm like, there's traffic, guys. Like come on.
Yeah, like this is a road.
Like my heart was like beating out of my chest. I was like, this is wild. And then like he did the 2 burnouts and he just tested it and everybody got in the car. And as soon as I got in the car, I was like, that was the wildest shit I've experienced. And why I had never felt that way street racing in like so many years. It was wild.
Yeah, that event definitely seems like top tier. I'm going to toss it over to Witty. Witty, let's talk about some of your travel events situation here.
Okay. Well,
I know you've done some. I like to hear about the overseas travel because I feel like a lot of my listeners are domestic based, I guess. Domestic as in U.S.
Okay.
And one of my bucket lists has been Japan, I guess. I want to go to where they do that meet.
Yeah.
Where all the highways are, and I'm sure as a photographer
it's the
that's
big
like,
loop. It's in Yokohama or something like that. Just south of, I think, what is it, Kawasaki? I don't remember. But it's Yokohama, and it's the big loop, and I think Larry Chin was just over there. And anytime you see any of the cars, like in that big double loop bridge thing, apparently they just all meet up there, and it's just some of the coolest cars in the world, and then they go out and cruise and come back. We also want to do that.
Yeah, it just seems like such a cool meet spot. Like, I mean, the Houston highways are what I always think of when I see stacked up highways, and those always make me a little sick because I know about the struggles of driving around in Houston. It's like that city is brutal to trek around through. Like, I mean, you guys have been through street racing through there, and my first time there, I was like, oh, there's somebody, there's this race going on, and we're like, oh, cool, let's go. And it's like 2.5 hours away. I'm like, well, that's my whole night. But so your overseas stuff, I want to hear.
Well, with Japan, actually, so we're trying to set up going over to Okinawa, Japan, because we've seen that there's been racing over there and they have a race over there. So at TX2K last year, I ended up meeting this kid, Isaac, who he was one of the safety people on the wall who anytime like a car would go down, he'd hop over and make sure there wasn't any oil slick or whatever. And I talked to him for probably half an hour during the event, during, I think, an oil down or something. And he was stationed there in the military and then married this girl there and then came back over here to get his affairs in order and then moved back over there permanently. And so he's in Okinawa and he knows a bunch of shop owners and racers. And he's said that, like, so we were going to have an event set up there, go out and film the race and then do some, like, drifting in the mountains and then go to some shops and all that. But it was kind of just too short notice and all the hotels and all the things filled up. And there was one key part that I didn't find out till later, but it's a 5-hour boat ride from Okinawa to whatever little island around Okinawa. That's where the actual race is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that going over there would be crazy, especially for that big loop up pretty south of Tokyo, because, I mean, you can go all over the world and there's a lot of different drag racing that's going on. And cars, I mean, I know there's different kinds of cars, like Brazil, kind of fucks with, 4 cylinders and all that stuff. But Japan just has like a whole different scope of automotive. It's just all those cars are so unique over there. I think that's why we want to get over there.
Yeah, in Okinawa, I've seen some people visit there, and there's like a lot of abandoned, like, legitimate nice JDM cars over there because it's like military, and a lot of the military guys don't want to even bother with like getting their cars off of the small little island, so they'll just like leave like a drift ready S14, like a car that people would die for out here.
Yeah.
But I always joke that we're stealing all the nice cars from Japan anyways. Month by month they just kind of keep like coming into the US like on a ship.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely cool. But as far as the places I've been, well, I'll go back to Germany here. So when we went there, we kind of just wanted to get a full experience. The main reason was a half mile. So there are some cool cars at the half mile, but in Germany, you're not really seeing world records.
Do they call it a half mile?
Yeah. It's called like the Race 1000.
That's kind of weird in itself, though.
Well, 1,000 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, that makes
Race
sense.
1,000.
I was going to say, do they call it a half mile? I mean, they race quarter mile in Qatar, don't they?
This was in an airstrip.
In Qatar, don't they do quarter mile?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's weird when you don't use miles normally.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go to a country that does...
But a quarter mile is only 402 meters.
Yeah, so it adds up.
So 1,000 meters is more than a half mile. If that's what they were doing. I don't know what they were doing.
No, it's just funny to hear like mile used in a metric using place.
Fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like if you like half mile.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
So-
but like real quick, any metric tool around the world, any socket, it goes on what? A 1/4 inch, a 3/8 inch, or a 1/2 inch?
Yeah.
Right? They don't make metric ratchets,
Nope.
do they?
Not that
Just
I've ever
saying.
seen.
So we're right. I just want to put that out.
Yeah.
We're right.
Even every country uses quarter mile for their drag racing.
Yeah, there's a reason.
All right, so you're in
Yeah, we're in
Germany at this point. What year was that? 18, 19?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
18, 19. And we drive out into the middle of nowhere. Like, it's just out in the middle of a country. There's old World War II buildings that are, like, kind of abandoned, never finished, that we were driving by. And we end up out in, honestly, I have no idea where, super far out. And we went to the Race 1000. It was a half-mile event. And, there's some cool stuff, some cool Volkswagens and German cars, but really, there was nothing setting any records. I mean, everyone was pretty pumped when they got over 200 mile an hour. So, it was fun. But what really got me excited about that event is after we were done out there, like I said, we drove into Nürburgring. And there's a place called Nuremberg, but there's also somewhere called Nürburgring. And I kept calling the Nuremberg for like the first 2 days we were there. And everybody was losing it and like correcting me. And I was like, whew, and I learned my lesson. So the Nürburgring is in Nürburgring, and Nuremberg is like an hour or 2 or 3 away. I don't know. It's not next to it.
Is there any drag racing near that
There's
area?
I don't know where the Hockenheim ring is, but there's a drag strip there that we really want to go to because they have a pretty cool looking event that has like a lot of different drag stuff. But we didn't do any drag racing over there. We just did the Race 1000, and then we were at the Nürburgring, and we stayed at that hotel right on there. And actually, we got to go around. Misha, you know Misha on YouTube from Apex Taxi?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have watched his. I mean,
Yeah.
if you watch the Nürburgring video, it's probably his.
Yeah, he is a wizard. Oh my goodness, dude. We're doing like 160 over a blind hill, and he's like, stay in it, stay in it, stay in it. Okay, brakes. Now to the right. Left curbstone, left curbstone. He's just so calm, and like he knows the track better than I think he knows anything else in life. And we went around with him, and then we went around with a professional driver in their F80 M3, and then Kyle got to go around, and Kyle was driving, and me and Alec were in the back seat, and Misha was up front directing Kyle, and we did a pretty hot lap with the, I think it was a Volkswagen GTI or something, Golf, and I mean, I think we did it was like a 10 minute and however many seconds lap, so it wasn't too bad, and when you watch it, just like, the most entertaining part was just Misha directing it. It wasn't the racing, it wasn't the track, it wasn't anything. It was crazy listening to how he knows this. It was just like a 12.1 mile long track. To memorize that long of a track, the green hell is what they call it.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get around it, and the weather changes throughout the track. I feel like if you go there, it's smart to get something slow, even though most people would be like, I want a GT3 RS. But it'd be more fun to drive that car wide open than to drive like a GT3 RS like scared 50% throttle.
Oh yeah, and I mean if you crash it, you're still liable for all that. I know there's probably some insurance policies I know that Kyle was signing, but I mean we chose the Volkswagen for a reason. They had McLarens. They took us back, so right when we got there, we walked into their little back barn, and there was a McLaren 720S, the F80 M3. And then Von Gittin Jr.'s Drift Mustang was just chilling in the corner. Apparently, he was out there for he's drifting the entire Nürburgring, and they filmed a whole promo video. And when we went up to the castle on the top of the hill at the Nürburgring to get food, there was Von Gittin Jr. and Larry Chen and like all these people. And I remember I just wanted to shake Larry Chen's hand and get a picture of him because, he's a photographer and he's super, super good. And I know Kyle afterwards was like, you do realize that was weird. You didn't really want a picture with Von Gittin Jr. and you just wanted to say hi to the photographer. And I was like, I don't know. Larry Chen's pretty dope. And
I mean, Larry's about as famous as any FD driver, if not more.
He does everything. Oh, yeah.
I think he was SEMA Content Creator of the Year this year.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's...
Dang.
Yeah. He's up there for sure. He was up there for something.
It was like him and TJ Hunt were like Content Creator of the Year, and I think he beat him out.
Yeah, he has that show called Autofocus, which is just like it was literally the most perfect name you'd come up with because you're focused on automotive and then autofocus camera, I don't know, just like perfect.
I feel like you as a photographer, you were talking about it before about editing.
Yeah.
And you have like a different perfection level of editing a video than most like a YouTube vlogger would have.
For photo and video, it's just kind of for photo at least, I sit there and I could sit there for 8 hours a day and I'm just every single thing there is. Like if there's a horizon off or there's something in the frame that's not right, or if if you crop down, a line could go into the corner of the frame, or different colors thing. I mean, there's just so many things you're looking at. So any video or photo I look at, I'm just heavy critiquing it. I can't just like look at it and be like, oh yeah, that was nice. I gotta look at it and be like, well, that wasn't exposed right. Colors weren't right there. Why? Like that's blurry.
Do you add fake lens flare?
No, I don't add anything. I take a journalistic approach.
He's got some presets on.
Yeah, you had a little fake
Absolutely
lens flare
not.
there every now and then. Here,
people always ask like, how do you get your shots so nice? How do you get them so clean, so clear? It's like you're answering your own question you're answering your question like with what you're asking, because clean and clear, how do you get them so fresh? It's like, because I just don't edit them very much. The worst photos I see out today are the ones that are over edited. Sometimes the moment really isn't even that bad, but like they just saturation and clarity and texture, and it's just like disgusting. Or vignetting, and it's like
me and Gary used to always kind of get on, like, we'd be driving back from an event and people would send these photos and we're just like, ugh.
no,
like, thank you, like that's very nice, but like, do you have an original?
I
Can you
get
send like the non?
that photography to a level is art, and art is subjective. So you can have your style, you can do your own little thing, but you have to get things right before you put your style. Like, it has to be a clear shot. If it's blurry, it's a failed shot. Don't post it. Like if you took a picture and the car launched and you only got some of it and the front half's cut off, like, just don't post it. I mean,
Yeah.
make sure it's exposed right, the colors are right, make sure your lines are going where you need to go. The background's just as important as the foreground and the subject. So
how many like photos, like, okay, after a sick week, you dump your photos. How many is
Christ.
that? And
4,973.
so has that become less over time? Like when you started, did you take more photos because you were a little more novice?
No, it's
and you're
become
like,
more.
So it's become more. I was
Yeah.
gonna say like now you're kind of more like like, oh, that
I know
one.
exactly what I need. So typically at an event, let's say TX2K or Sick Week, if it's 5 days, I'll end up with anywhere from 800 to 1,000 photos per day if it's a full day. And then I hope for about a 30 to 40% retention rate when I go to edit those. So then I'm end up posting a few hundred, maybe 150, 190,
Yeah.
180 from the pits, and then like, I don't know, 120 from the track or something like that.
Okay, so Fred, now your camera, how many hours of footage do you think you're offloading after an event?
It depends on the event. I think, well, I guess 1 year at 2K, I don't know about my camera specifically, but I know 1 year at 2K, they said that we brought back 40 hours, I think it was 40 hours of footage.
Between like the crew or?
Yeah.
So 40 hours of footage, that becomes about, what, 15 videos maybe of TX2K?
I mean, daily, we have the
5.
daily videos. And
Yeah,
then-
but then after that,
and then
there's
street features as well.
Yeah.
and then the movie.
We don't do that anymore.
those
When did
anymore.
that stop? 2020?
2 years
2019?
ago? It had to been 2 years ago,
Okay.
2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, we started doing street features with our footage because the DVD just took too long. It took too long. We wanted to get our footage out, and we wanted people to see it. And people still wanted like the DVD. It just, when you get it 6 months later, everybody would get it, but it was just, we just
Yeah.
figured this was a better way to use our media.
Even like a digital copy would be cool, because like even, I have a TV in here.
Right.
Be cool to put a 2-hour video up there.
So
'cause-
we sold digital copies when we did
Yeah.
the DVD. You could either get the hard DVD copy or digital copy.
And now you put them all out online, all the old stuff too.
Yeah, we're starting to we drop old just full DVDs every once in a while.
Yeah, that's a really cool deal. Watching like the 2009
Like
and-
COTS 9 from 2005.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
You got like 2 hours of footage and it's all like old stuff, and you'll see some gems and they're like, was that boosted GT? Why is that the yellow SN95? And then you'll see other people, and it's kind of cool.
You'll see like the early underground cars and stuff when like they're
Oh, the
like,
Gallardos, yeah.
1,000 horsepower.
Oh,
and
like-
now it's like
no, like,
3,200.
a 2R car was like 1550 to the wheel, and that was like oh my god, did you see? It's just like,
Yeah.
you'd see that those were the big dick cars that would show up to Mullets. God, Mullets was a vibe at 2K. Did you ever go to Mullets?
I don't know much about Mullets besides the GT500 was his. I don't really know much about him.
GT500.
though. Didn't he have a GT500? I thought.
He had a gray Gallardo Superleggera.
Okay, so I don't know anything about.
He had
him.
one of those. He had the
He had a
4GT. He had the tri-charge 4GT.
That's what it was. The GT. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was twin turbo supercharged with nitrous,
Super Turbo Nitrous.
tri-charged. We call it. We say tri-charged.
Super Turbo Nitrous.
Tri-charge.
Okay, tri-charge.
Sounds really cool on clickbait titles.
But
Confuses the audience.
he got the last iteration of the car before he sold it was all the piping and everything was gold plated. So you pop the hood.
Legitimately gold.
It was a white with blue stripe 4GT like 0506 body style, and then it made 2,400 horsepower. And I think that actually when it was tri-charged, it only made like 11 or 12, and then he had it built, and I can't remember the shop that did it. I think I know the shop, but I don't want to say for sure because I don't know. But When he got it back, it was supposedly 24. It was the 2.4K GT. And so it made 2,400 horsepower, apparently, and 24 karat gold plated everything under the hood, which was pretty dope.
So that was probably, like, I often hear people talk about, like, TX2K is not the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
It's now more track focused.
Right. Yeah.
And back then, when it was, like, street, like, people, like, the track was kind of just like a bonus feature.
Well, the track, you got to think the track that they were doing it at was Sealy. Out there at Hennessy, right next to Hennessy. The track's just not great. I'll be honest. I've been there for a few events. The track's not great. And that event got really big and just outgrew that track. It's a very small track. Like, stands on one side, and there was like 10 rows of stands, and I was like, it was a very small track, so it outgrew it very quickly.
Well, it was the Supra Nationals for a long time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was, you know, if you have a Supra race, you're obviously not going to have an abundance of them because there's only so many. So you were there going when Peter finally kind of switched over to it being TX2K.
No, it was always TX2K.
Oh, I thought it was just Supra.
In the very beginning, I thought it was the Super Nationals or something.
And then he switched to TX2K. I don't know. I'm not old enough to know, nor am I.
I thought it was TX2K, and he sold it as like the Supra Nationals.
There's a strong chance.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it could be.
Kyle would know. Peter would know.
Probably.
So when you were going, when you first showed up, was it 1,000 horsepower cars? Like, were they already just like all over? Or was there like one
those
or
were
two?
those were like the top echelon cars were like the underground cars, and then the GTR builders would bring their cars out like 1,700 horsepower. Like, these are the top horsepower like GTRs on the planet, and they're coming out there to play on the street with underground with their 15, 16, 1,700 horsepower Gallardos. It was like the Wild West. You, like, if you got an invite to Mullets, that means you had a legit car, and then it was a good group, because anytime they went out to go racing, it was just like nothing but small groups. They'd go out there, get the racing done, and nobody ever got in trouble. So it wasn't a bunch of dumb kids. It was adults trying to do adult racing.
Yeah, now there's so many that it's impossible to almost like get together with the person and actually go out there without being blocked by cars.
You used to be able to race on. We used to race on I-10.
And you'd race
I-10 right through
hours.
Yeah,
till sunrise, literally till sunrise. Then we go to the track, and it'd be like no sleep. You'd go from street racing, get dropped off for the track. You'd race all day at the track and just do it all over again.
Yeah, for any fans that see us at TX2K, you got to think on day 4, 5, or 6 of this event. I think it's 5-day event this year.
Yeah.
On day like 4 or 5 of this event, if you see us, we're zombies at that point. We're at the track all day, and then we try to go get some street stuff if we can. Try to find something, and then we go to the track the next day. Sometimes we can be out till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Other times we can be out till 7 o'clock in the morning, and then we got to be at the track at 8 or 9.
On day 4, we could possibly only be on 9 hours of sleep total
for the week,
for the whole 4 days.
And you guys would even stage hotels, like you would get hotels all throughout the city.
Yeah, so we'd
just
have
in case.
So we usually have our hotel by the track, but when street racing was really heavy in Houston at 2K event, or not, it wasn't at. I don't want to advertise it. It was at 2K was the reason, but whatever.
It was just happened to be there.
Street racing happened to happen at the same time.
It just happens in March.
Right.
It's just weird.
Yeah, exactly.
We get that Marriott hotel like 45 minutes to an hour away.
Yeah, like we get the host hotel. We'd get a room there just for the week, and if somebody got stranded, like got in a group of cars and they were going back to the Marriott, and there was no way we could get back out to Baytown without like getting an Uber or something like that.
Yeah, because it's far.
Yeah, it's 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah. And so we'd have a room there that anybody could crash at any point in time.
But now, I mean, fast forward, like you out of the glory days. Now, there are helicopters in the sky flying around the whole night.
Yep.
And we've been told that they can read your plate from a mile away, anywhere. So any car that's driving around from a mile away can read your plate. They got undercovers that are in like Hellcats and Mustangs on beadlock tires, and they'll honk it off.
And they're trying to get people to race them. And as soon as the guy goes, pulls them over.
Lights. And it's just like, dude, and they're taking cars. People are going to jail.
Yeah, people get. I mean, every year at 2K, it's like it's kind of like you always got your eye to the. or not your eye. You always got your ear out there for like, okay, how many people got arrested last night? How many people got impounded? Because every night it's like it'll be like, oh shit, Tuesday? Somebody got impounded on Tuesday?
Yeah, sometimes.
And then sometimes it'll be like, dude, they got like 8 people on Wednesday. It's like normally back in the day it was like you'd have the heyday where you could show up on Tuesday, Wednesday, go street racing every night, have great racing all night, and everything was good. And then the cops might get heavy Saturday, Friday, Saturday. But now it's like impounded, ticketed, thrown in jail. And also, if you get thrown in jail on Friday night, you're not getting out till Monday morning.
Yeah, so you're missing all your classes potentially. Your whole race set.
Yeah, it's ruined. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some people that street race, get arrested, and then have to be at the track the next day to make a pass in their car. I'm pretty sure. Trying to think of his name with White Rice had to do it one year. Didn't he?
Zach or Dewey? Or
yeah, I feel like Zach got in trouble street racing.
I don't know that.
I thought there was an interview way back of that happening.
Could have been. I don't know.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise anybody. Street racing happens. So we are kind of at the last year of that, though. Guaranteed.
Well, this is the last year at Houston Raceway.
Yes.
We don't know what's going on after this.
Last year was also supposed to be the last year.
Right, but apparently this is like the last year.
Yeah.
I swear, if Peter comes out at the end of the event and says, "Ed, we're doing it. Houston Raceway next year," I will be like, "You got to stop, dude. You're
the best marketing ever.
You're crying. You've cried wolf twice now. You can't keep doing it.
I don't believe it.
It's the best marketing ever because everybody wants to be at the last one.
Yep.
Oh yeah. But I mean, if this is the last one, that will be kind of sad because after Sealy, they went straight to Houston Raceway, and it's been a great track. Like, there's only so many other tracks in the country that I can think of that this event could possibly go to where they could handle that amount of people.
Yes,
like,
it has to be a NHRA size track, but also have a cool owner like Seth, who owns Houston, who kind of is okay with a little bit of like outlaw, I would say, because roll racing, you kind of need to look the other way a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that going 250 with a car that has a 236 with a car that is OEM interior is okay.
Probably not.
If it started from a stop, you'd be like, "Yo, that guy needs a cage." But when you start from a roll, you're good.
Yeah, I guess.
It's crazy how that works.
I don't ask a lot of safety questions.
That's not really your thing.
Yeah, I'm just kind of filming what they're doing out there.
Exactly. You just kind of had document, I guess.
Yeah, but when you think about it, though, there really are only a handful of tracks that can handle that many people.
And that big of a shutdown for that fast of roll racing.
Yep.
All the pits, facilities, stands.
Like, there's literally only a handful of tracks.
Z-Max. The
Z-Max in Charlotte,
Vegas.
and then Z-Max in Vegas.
Yep.
Indy, Maryland.
You think Indy's pits are big
Maryland
enough?
doesn't have a big Maryland's got a good shutdown.
They have an NHRA sanction. They have a half-mile shutdown.
Yeah.
Wait.
Because I know Houston has just that long shutdown with the sand, which is so good for a roll car that goes.
There's sand at Maryland.
Because they go 1,500 feet.
There's sand at Maryland.
Because they go 1,500 feet in roll racing in Texas.
Yeah, something like that.
They don't go.
They do more than a quarter mile. Yeah, for sure.
So that makes it a little tough. But those helicopters probably get the freaking sickest videos of some street races. I bet you there are some sick videos somewhere in police
some good
computers
footage.
somewhere, like somebody getting gapped real good.
And into the commentary, the pilot going like, "Oh, he got out on him pretty good. He 4 cars, dang."
Yeah, so if you're an officer in Houston, look up from March 12th to 19th of last year and see if there's any good helicopter footage.
Send it over.
Yeah, we're interested. I would love to see some of that. Then your ride-along. Oh.
Yeah. So real quick, speaking of ride-alongs, let's just take a quick little flashback to Germany. Okay. So
he just likes to flex the fact that I didn't get to Germany.
No, I wish you were there the whole time because there's so many German cars that you know a lot more about.
Car guy.
I love German cars and Fred loves German cars, so it would have been good. But okay, so we went around with Misha and we went around with Kyle. But one of the coolest parts is, so we go to this bar called The Crown, and it's down in Nuremberg. It was like 12, maybe 1 a.m. There's really nothing open except for this bar, a little tiny little bar. And we go in there, and we're drinking, having fun, and this guy starts talking to us about cars. and he tells us his racing Honda is out front. So he's got this Honda, like just a full-blown race hatch Honda out front. His name on his social media is like Hondan. So Honda, but Hondan, because his name's Dan. So we end up talking to him, and he's like, hey, I have a turboed one of these. Hold on. He drives off, comes back a couple minutes later, and flies down the street in this like few hundred horsepower, like boosted Honda that was actually like really wild. And the next day, he took me out for laps, and he was super fast. He knew the track really well, and this was like a full-blown race car, and I got to do a few laps in that, and that was the most fun I had around the whole entire track.
So was he just like a guy that has some pass to the Nürburgring? How does that work? Like, if you live near it, like, is it just always open? Is
No.
it just,
Public road?
Yes, the Nürburgring is a toll road, and anybody can drive on it. You'll see like a DHL delivery truck or like a van, or I mean, literally anything that has 4 wheels or 2 wheels, any wheels you can take out there. It's just a toll road.
Oh, so you just pay?
Yeah, you just go and pay toll, and you drive on the 12.1 or some mile long road. And
I would imagine it's closed sometimes for like.
yeah, there's different things they close it for.
Testing cars, OEM testing cars.
Yeah,
and stuff.
and when you were talking about weather, here's one of the craziest parts about the Nürburgring. So certain times of years, or certain times of the year, it could be snowing at one part of the track, raining at another, and completely dry at another. So typically racers will put on a certain tire for a certain condition, but when you have like snow, rain, and dry, I mean, that's why they call it the Green Hell. It's like one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging racetracks in the world.
Yeah, because even like memorizing the track itself is tough. Like, you know, you can do a
shorter
you go go-karting and you memorize that track real quick.
Yeah.
That's usually people's gauge of going around the track is a go-kart. And the go-karts are funny because it's probably more invigorating than most cars you can be in. They're so cheap.
Yeah.
It's so sad in a way.
But yeah, so like Germany was cool. That was basically what we did. And then I said, we headed over to Belgium and got into the, forget what the whole track is, like Friendships Day Spa. I don't know, it was this Circuit de Spa though. And we out there for the 24-hour practice rounds and finagled our way into some media vests. So that was super cool. But everywhere we go, and like you were saying how interested you were in the world travel, because it's not, there's a lot of fans that are here and they might not know what it's like. Something that Fred and I always say is that cars is an automotive, it's like a international language, because it doesn't matter where we go. Like when we go to Brazil or Germany or Dubai or Qatar or even just Florida or Washington, literally anywhere, you're best friends with people once they know that you like cars. And everybody has the same kind of spirit to them with cars and racing. And so, I mean, you can just really go anywhere and make friends if you're into it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing like that. There's not much else out there that you can just like kind of pick up and know like, oh, that guy kind of has the same mindset as me. If somebody has a modified car,
yeah,
they've busted their knuckles a little bit. You know, they've kind of struggled through things, and it's just like part of owning a modified car often sucks. It really does.
It's a love-hate I hear from, most people,
Yeah, don't modify your car if you're not thick-skinned, I guess you say. So travel then. Back to where else? Fred's been to Qatar, and you've done cool stuff there. They race differently there. They race at like a bougie high level, it feels like. We race at like a peasant level.
I wouldn't say that. So I've been to Qatar. I think I went there 3 times, and then Dubai once, but that wasn't for drag racing. But over in Qatar, it's a very nice track. Like the wall is probably the thickest wall I've ever seen in a drag strip. Like you're standing next to it at the starting line. It's probably this thick at the starting line, and it goes all the way down the track like 4 feet high, and then at the end it gets like to 6-7 feet high. So if you lose it, you're not going over a wall for sure. Super flat. It goes right towards sunset. There was just like regular racers, like they have pits there where it's like little garages and they have tent style pits or whatever. And it was a bunch of regular guys, just like Middle Eastern guys from different countries around the Middle East that would bring their car there for, I think they were like 5 or 6 weekends a year where they do like a traveling series and it goes to Qatar.
What track were you at?
Qatar Racing Club.
Qatar Racing Club.
Yep.
Okay. So is it like a compound? Like they have a drag strip and like a...
Yeah. So KH is a sheikh over there, and he is the one that's into cars. Period. Racing, all that stuff. If you remember Al Anabi Racing from NHRA, all they had was Al Anabi Racing on the side. They didn't have any sponsors. It just said Al Anabi Racing, but they were really good too. He owned that racing team, and over there he built. It was out of nothing, just out of the desert there, and at like a corner of the city. He built the drag strip, and then performance shop that's called Al Anabi Performance. So you can take a car there as a shell or whatever you want. Take it there, have it built. They can test it. They can tell you what it does. You can race it down the track, or whatever, and make sure it does everything, and not even leave the facility. So you can have a car built, tested, everything's good, and not leave the facility.
So it's just like a car guy heaven compound of awesomeness.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, KH has some pretty awesome cars that we got to look at.
And it's not just like your performance shop. It's like, custom dyno room.
They did
booth. Like
they did
lifts in the ground. Like
there's everything.
Multi-million-dollar.
They
performance
do.
Shop.
They build so many different things over there. One of the cars that they have over there that we didn't get over here was a Patrol, Nissan Patrol.
Yes.
And those like inline 6 cylinders, 4.8 liter, and a manual transmission. And they put massive turbos on them. They'll be like 1,300 horsepower. Those things are the most. I wish we could get them over here.
Well, they had a diesel variant also that seemed pretty interesting. I feel like people put the diesels into them.
Oh, I didn't see any over there when I was over there.
Yeah, they have some kind of weird diesel I've seen before. I don't know if you got to see those ones.
But they'll build those. They'll build like just they had shop cars. Like one of the records they were going for was the fastest IRS Supra in the world at the time, and it was Mark IV Supra. They had the quickest and fastest Outlaw 10.5 car. There was another one that they literally designed apparently on, I think it was an Outlaw 10.5 or something like that. The rules were if you had an 8-cylinder, you had a weight restriction. You had to make weight. If you had a 6-cylinder or less, you didn't have to make weight. You could be as light as you wanted. So they basically took like a 540 big block. A lot more technology, designing, and engineering to this, but they basically took a 540 big block and chopped 2 cylinders off and made it a 6-cylinder, and put it in a C6 Corvette Pro Mod type looking thing, and it was the weirdest sounding car. Apparently, they went through a lot of motors doing research and development, but when we saw that thing run, it was fast. And it sounded so weird, and they were the only ones that did this engine. Nobody else had this engine. They made it in-house, designed it in-house. They had a CNC. They had a whole shop that was just CNC stuff. They would just make heads out of nothing for like any. They could make parts out of for any car that was in the shop. They didn't. They literally didn't have to go anywhere. They didn't have to buy parts from anywhere if they didn't want to.
I think that's like what I was trying to get at. Like, it's not just a shop like we have performance shops. It's like extremely high caliber,
right?
Of
like KH didn't do anything cheaply. Like he's like, okay, well, if we're gonna make our own parts, we got to make it in like good machines. So it's like all these Haas CNC 5-axis CNC machines everywhere making parts, and just it was and their own engine builder, their own their fabrication guys over there they'll crazy. Like the welds, I'm like, did a laser do this? Nope, it was a guy, just a Filipino guy, they look perfect. Everything looks amazing over there.
Where's the place that you went? He was telling me one time that there's I think it was a Sheikh maybe, but he did the helicopter and he had a Maybach to take him on the track and all that.
Right.
Tell that.
So, okay.
This story just blows my mind. This is some high caliber stuff you're looking for.
KH is a Sheikh in Qatar. There's several Sheikhs, but so he's high level government official basically, and at one time he did race his pro mods himself, and he would get in the car and race it. A couple years ago he wasn't allowed to anymore. The royal family said, you're not allowed to anymore, you're too important. So, but he does still tune on the cars and everything, which is really cool.
Oh, that's crazy.
But he would come up he would have his Maybach bring him to the starting line. He'd get out, get in his Pro Mod, make a pass that was like, I think he broke the Pro Mod world record when I was there once. So he's a driver. He's not like slow or anything. He's quite the driver. So he'd make his pass, and at the end of the track, he'd pull off, and then he'd get out of his car, and the Maybach would be sitting there, and get in it, and then pull him to the front. And he'd just chilling there. But the thing is like, to get from his house to the track, sometimes he would helicopter in.
Yeah,
But
naturally.
he still wants the Maybach there to take him from the finish line to the starting line.
Yeah.
So the Maybach would leave from his house, and he would take the helicopter, and the Maybach would meet him there at the track and drive him around. And then when he went home, he would take the helicopter, and the Maybach would drive home.
Is that the same place where the VIP seats were
gosh.
gold?
They were painted gold, but they were very nice. Yeah, they had a VIP section at the racetrack, and it was the seating was like regular stadium like regular seating, but instead of bleachers, they were like
Gold chairs.
velvet covered gold chairs. They were nice.
Mm-hmm.
They had a VIP. So you know VIP.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle and I were VVIPs. Very, very important people.
So there's levels to it, not just
They
like
had a tent that
normal VIP.
we walked into this tent that was a VVIP tent. We're the only two people in there, and there's like a lady there who's like we'll get you stuff, whatever you need, water, anything.
So you have a concierge at the track for your
We
VIP.
walk into this tent, and you have those like kind of rug type situation where you sit
the
down.
pillows.
Yeah. So we just chilled with her, and there was like a table where you just put little snack food, plated up, and then there was like a TV or two there that was a CCV live stream of what's going on the track. So we just sit there in our VVIP section. Like they do it cool.
Yeah,
Here-
what I've always seen.
The worst part about it is though, so they do all this stuff. They put a bunch of money into it. It's a really nice track, really nice facility, but drag racing is just not big over there. The way it was described to us is like, oh, that's hillbilly. That's like the way we would look at it. It's like that's like lesser people do that. And it's like, well, KH does it, and he's worth how much money, you know? And he's putting millions of dollars into this facility and his race cars and everything. And there's legit cars that come out there. Who's the guy in Bahrain? Ikanu.
Yeah.
Ikanu. I met Ikanu out there. I think it was the second time we went over there, and I was like, somebody was talking about, have you seen that? We were talking about KH's car collection that we'd seen that day.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, you seen that guy's car collection? And I look over, and it's just some guy in a puffy shirt or puffy coat, and I was like, I don't know who that is. And they're like, that's EK. I was like, what? Ikanu. I was like, I follow him. Like, he never shows his
Yeah.
face on Instagram. I was like,
Their
I follow
Instagram
that
is
guy.
serious. It's like, how many high-powered cars do
That-
you
okay.
have? Like,
All of them.
Okay.
it's an insane page to
Right.
follow. It makes you feel really poor.
Yeah.
So that's like top tier 1320 garages.
Yeah.
If
That's
I could get to Bahrain
peak.
and do Ikanu's garage, and I don't know what his we could do a top 10.
Ew.
He's got so many
Be a
cars.
lot of gimbling for me. Huh?
Like-
Yeah, he is top tier. Yeah, I mean, how do you even do that? You'd have to just be like, okay, we'll just start a new channel. This will be a movie. I don't even know how you would.
It would
do
be
that.
over an hour episode, I'm sure, or a two-parter, or
Pick your
freaking
top
something,
three.
dude.
Like, what?
It was, dude. Ikanu's garage is like, in my mind, like as far as modified stuff and stuff, all that, top tier.
Yeah, he probably
He's-
has one of the best collections in the world of cars. That
Oh, yeah.
is reported on.
Right. Not one where they just buys a bunch of stock cars and they sit in a warehouse and is like, I own $1 billion worth of cars. Like, no, these are like cars. Most of them are built.
But is reported on. Who knows what's out there
Right.
that is under the radar? Because a lot of those people are pretty under the radar. Not like those people as in Middle Eastern, but like those people as in wealthy that level.
Yeah.
They're pretty low key because where I grew up, Ralph Lauren has a big car collection.
Yep.
Right near me. All of his cars were like in like 10 different houses because he's got 2 of every Ferrari, and they're all red.
Oh my gosh.
Just in case. Just in case you got to have a second
I
one
like
so you
that.
can drive the one.
Yeah. that's a good idea. He's a
Ralph,
smart
Ralph
guy.
Lauren's, I swear to God, he's a car guy that just tricked people into buying clothes, like just so he could fund his car addiction. He's
Dead
got
set.
he's got like 1939 Bugattis. He's got like stuff where it's like, oh my God, like if you breathe on it wrong, it costs you $100,000.
Yeah,
Like,
he's got really top tier. And I will say, quick little flex, but Dylan Lauren, his daughter, named her son Cooper after me. So
Oh, well, congratulations,
yeah,
Cooper.
she met me and was like, "I'm gonna name my son Cooper." I was like, "Damn, you're just gonna steal my name like that? Let me tour his car collection." We go to the candy shop because she got the Dylan's candy bar deal at all the airports. But so the travel wise, you went to Alaska. Have you been to racing on every continent? Or which ones are you guys missing?
We haven't been to
Africa?
Alaska. We haven't been to Asia.
We were just in
No,
Alaska.
you're at Alaska.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry, guys.
We were just in Alaska.
Antarctica.
Oh,
Cold.
Yeah, they don't drag race in Antarctica.
might be able to convince somebody.
Dude, I will.
You can drag race on the ice, and Fred knows damn well you can do that.
We've done that before, but I'm thinking we could do some sled dog races.
So you're only 2 continents away as the 1320, because I don't think you guys have been to like Africa.
Middle East.
Is Middle East part of African continent? Yep. Okay, so I guess that one
Technically,
adds up. Yeah,
technically we have.
it adds up.
So
yeah.
South America, Africa, North America,
Australia.
Australia,
Yep.
Europe.
And then
We need
We
Asia and
didn't do
Antarctica.
Asia and didn't do Antarctica.
Well,
Asia is possible, and we're going to go there because we want to go to Japan. We want to go. Look, there's. I mean, I think is Thailand in Asia.
yeah, Thailand. would
It's
be part
Southeast
of-
Asia.
Okay, yeah, we want to go there. There's a few places we want to go, so we'll make it.
Yeah.
Antarctica, we might need to like.
We might need to pull. We might need to pull some strings on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some
I think.
treaties there. Maybe you could just go there and get like a foot race going.
Well, I think Lewis Hamilton went there just for fun, like in the off season. I was like, he's like, I went to Antarctica. I was like, you went where?
You can take
for
a
fun?
cruise there.
Well, let's go. Let's go and let's race some RC cars. And we'll
Race
call it
something.
the first drag race in Antarctica history.
Or some kind of like
Boom.
the planes that they land on the ice.
If
Just race a
anybody is
couple of
watching
those.
this that happens to have a hookup to how to get to Antarctica,
Yeah.
I'll go. You going?
Yeah.
All right, we're going.
We gotta cross that sea though. There's like some sea that it's in between the tip of South America and Antarctica. And
There's water there,
It's
yeah.
the most dangerous waters
Well, you
in
can
the
fly
world.
Well,
over
just
it.
don't get in the water.
You fly
No.
over that.
Like there's like 50, 100-foot waves that are hitting the boat.
Get in a big boat. Get in a big boat.
No, they,
I would definitely fly over it.
I would too,
Yeah,
but
I don't think I'd.
that,
But people
no,
sail around the world down
you
there.
can't fly there unless you're a scientist. Normal people have to go. Oh, the Drake's Passage, and Drake's Passage is famous for being one of the most violent, big ass boat ships.
I
Man.
don't think he realizes that we're doing this in the name of science, so we are technically scientists.
I mean, what even is a scientist?
Drag
anymore?
racing in Antarctica hasn't been done yet. I don't even know if it can be done. Science says, let's find out.
It
That's
can
true.
be done because they're landing planes on the ice, and we drag race
Yeah,
on the ice.
we get it.
So it means you
I'm
can
just
do it.
saying we need an excuse to go.
Yeah, we need to go.
So, South America then. What happened in South America?
Brazil.
Fuel Tech. Fuel Tech is amazing. They're
Fuel Tech
super
brought us
nice.
down there to basically look at the facility, go to the local drag strip, and
Check out the racing culture.
yeah,
down
it's pretty awesome down
With
there.
what's his name? Andrin?
No, Anderson
Anderson.
owns it. Luis toured us around. Was our guide the whole time. Both them are, when they say treat the janitor like you would the CEO, they are the embodiment of that saying. They are the absolute nicest people that any level of person using Fuel Tech.
What is it like down there? What's that?
4 cylinders.
Because Dom Toretto kind of made it look like it was real serious.
It was a little wild.
Well, it depends what part of
It was.
Brazil you're in. We were in Aguadilla, which
Yeah.
isn't not Aguadilla is where we were in Puerto Rico.
Porto Alegre.
Yeah, that's where we were. That's in the southern part of Brazil.
Yep.
And it was
Eastern coast.
the racetrack was pretty cool.
Yep. Velo Park was super nice.
That was a really cool
actually.
track.
It was a real cool facility. Circuit course as well. So they
Yeah.
had the pits with the little stalls that everyone got to go in.
What's the drag strip like? Is it
Nice.
Do they prep well?
Yeah.
They got legitimate
They
looking
they
stuff?
have
'Cause-
they have
Velo Park did.
low 6 second stick cars
oh yeah, I've seen those before.
or just got the 6 second. I can't remember. They were like
They
some of
don't
the
like
fastest
to count
ones.
them as the record though.
No, they don't because I think there's lockouts or something like that.
Yeah.
What's the motor they shoot fire out of?
I don't know, but it's an Opal that they race.
It's not a
Yeah.
Barra motor, right?
No,
But it's like
it's
that?
an inline 6 or 5 like that, and they run like nitro through it, like almost full nitro. So they shoot flames.
But they got front wheel drive cars with wheelie bars.
Yeah, front wheel drive car with like a 12-foot
That
wheelie
was
bar out
new.
the back, so it gets traction like that. There's
it,
no
like,
spinning.
Goes like this.
They're so cut up and light back there that they.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So
That
weird.
it actually flexes.
Yeah.
So what were you guys down there for?
So they were doing a race while we were
Yeah.
down there, but Fuel Tech had us come down there and we did a video of their facility, and we would like most of the cars there ran on Fuel Tech. Any race car down there.
Yeah.
Their import tax there is 100%.
Oh.
So if you got
you got a Holly, you just
if
double
you get
the cost.
Yeah.
exactly.
It's crazy.
So down there, if you don't want to spend $5,000 on a Holly, full Holly system or something like that, you could go to Fuel Tech and get a Fuel Tech system.
Damn, you basically have a captive audience to buy your product.
Kinda, but at the same time,
In
the
a
same
way.
time, Luis and several other guys at the track, they would go to the track, and during the race, if anybody needed help with their Fuel Tech, they would just walk around, free help all day.
But
Just-
they do that here.
They do it everywhere.
Here,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. They have the best customer service and the most helpful people of any brand we've come across. Like, they're just always there and ready to take in anybody's questions. Like, okay, so I was talking about how, treat the janitor like the CEO. We were in the car, and Luis got a call from Sean, Murder Nova, from Street Outlaws. He said he was going from, I think, either the track to the street or the street to the track. And he's like, yo, I need to figure this out. I got to get this, set up, blah, blah, blah. You listen to the tone that Luis talked to him with, how he talked to him, how he helped him and everything. And then later in the day, we're in the pits, and there's this dude with like a hole in his shoe. You could see his toe sticking out, had a little Volkswagen, and he had a Fuel Tech system. And Luis, he didn't question. Luis treated him with the same respect, used the same tone, was like just as helpful and eager to help. And so that was like one of those moments you're like, hey, this company's special. It's, because most ECU, companies have quite a bit of knowledge. They have good products. There's a lot of different ones, and most of them work pretty well. But I think Fuel Tech's really got it down to being like the iPhone of the ECU world, because it's just
Holly's a big one here in the States, but Fuel Tech I see that on a lot of big cars too.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once Fuel Tech kind of partnered with Proline, because their facility,
They're really close to each other.
they're next door to each
Yeah.
other on purpose by design. So they kind of immediately put themselves to the top of racing, which was
Yeah.
a fantastic marketing ploy.
Absolutely.
A lot of
Everybody
winning
sees
cars.
that and they're like, oh, if that's what they run, I better run that.
And their system is just so easy to use. Like, I know Motec has, you can do a lot with it. There's
You can
a lot
do a
of
lot
deep
with
tuning
Motec.
with that.
You can do a lot with you
Yeah.
can do a lot with a lot of different ECU companies.
And
though.
the Fuel Tech just has it presented super easy. So, like, I don't really know much. I haven't built the car yet, but I'm sure that if I built a race car, I'd use Fuel Tech, and it wouldn't be as hard for me to do that as it would to be, like, trying to program a Motec
Yeah,
myself.
with the customer support and everything is always helpful too. And
The menu
it's
setup,
cool
yeah.
that they're like semi-local. They're only in like Georgia.
Atlanta and then down in Porto.
And so
Alegre.
many people go up there to dyno their cars. And
Yeah,
it's
I'd say that's
it's
like
a
the
thing.
That's like the coolest part about their social media is like who's on the dyno this week.
Yeah.
it's always some big car that you're like, oh shit, I see this thing race all the time. Let's see what it puts down.
Yes. Oh, and Fred gave me a Fred White and Blue sticker.
Yes, Fred White and
So,
Blue.
gotta
When's the last
shout that
video
out.
you put out, Fred?
Shh, shut up. I'm putting one out.
See, GoPro died. We got as much as it could. It got an hour. It did what it could.
I'm putting a video out next week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So Fred White and Blue will have video out probably by the time this is up. So
I hope. Yeah, at least
check it out.
Probably a couple. Yeah.
what is it on? What do you guys?
YouTube.
I mean, what is it based on? About what were you
my
doing?
2023 project.
You'll
You
have
want
to
to give
go
us a
watch.
little sneak peek? You want to give us a little teaser, maybe? Like a trailer to get
the-
people excited to go?
So I have
Check it
a
out.
64 Corvette that I've had forever, and all the other cars are getting ignored this year, and that one's getting all of my time, money, and attention.
Oh,
So I'm going to be doing
Okay.
a lot of stuff to it.
okay. I'm excited to see that. I know you have quite a few collection of cars.
I have a handful.
Yeah. Are you going to do a garage tour of yourself?
I don't
a
know.
selfie
I think Kyle doesn't think my garage is cool enough.
I mean, maybe you could film the video and present it.
Ugh. I'm gonna do it on myself.
You'd have to.
I'm the one that films these things, so I'd be doing, hey,
Yeah,
Fred,
it'd be a selfie
what's your top
version.
3? I
I'd
don't
have to-
know.
It'd be really tough. You're gonna have to pre-record it, and
I
then
would look like a psychopath.
That's all YouTubers, Fred. That's all of us.
Okay.
I do that every single day. I have to talk to myself.
Oh, I do it when I do my videos too, but it's just like
That's why I started a podcast, so I didn't have to talk to myself all the time.
Fair.
Bronte won't come hang out with me. So street racing.
Yeah.
There's kind of, I feel like there's street racing and then there's like actual street racing.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I feel like there's like,
Okay, I know what you're saying. So,
No, I don't. Let him talk. I want to hear him.
Okay.
it's hard to put to words, but I feel like there's what people perceive as street racing, like what you see maybe on the internet and TV, and it's not quite the same as what you guys have filmed.
Are you talking about like Fast and Furious, like that type of stuff?
That as well, but even like some of the no prep
Takeovers?
stuff that's also more prepped than
Oh.
kind of believed, and you guys have been to some of the worst streets ever.
I thought you were talking about takeovers.
No, takeovers are the worst thing ever.
That's
Yeah,
the
they
cancer
are.
of the automotive community. I just want to say that out loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cancer of the automotive
It's not
community.
even it's nothing. It's
I
just
like watching people get run over at them.
I don't.
Oh,
I don't like
gosh,
seeing people
it-
get hurt. It's just not.
Semi-entertaining.
No, okay. So here's the kind of people that go to takeovers. Quickly. We'll touch on this. We'll walk
These
away.
on Ultimates?
Not
Touch on
super
this. Walk
smart.
away.
We'll just
So
not very smart.
when you get hit by a car at a takeover, guess what doesn't happen? Nobody comes to see if you're okay.
Nobody stops.
You know what does happen? A bunch of cell phones with their flashes on coming up to you and filming your body limp on the floor. Those are the kind of people that go. So if you're going to one of those and you care at all about
Your
anything,
safety, just like leave.
just leave. Step number one at a takeover: leave.
Yeah, well, you've been at races, drag races on the street where people have wrecked,
Yeah.
and it's probably a lot different than somebody wrecking at a takeover.
Everyone's really into the safety and making sure that person's okay and getting the proper. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what we're doing. If someone's hurt, we're gonna call an ambulance.
And
Yeah.
like people can argue with us all day. It's like, oh, you guys are out there street racing. It's dangerous. Like, do you know where we street race?
Away
Where
from-
there's nobody else around. We're
Yeah.
not trying to bring attention to ourselves. We're not trying to bring any extra spectators. We're not trying to do it in front of everybody.
It's not an intersection.
No.
It's not in the city.
It's in a remote area 99.9%
I
of
like
the time.
1 or 2 in the morning. I mean, it's just as far and away as possible
Yeah.
from people.
We're not doing this down Main Street at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Monday.
I'll be honest, Streetcar Takeover really got screwed over by this whole takeover thing.
Well, they got a bad name for a little bit because people got confused, but I don't.
I know, they're just naming wise, PR.
right.
really,
Yeah. They've been doing
really
this for years, and
unfortunate.
all of a sudden takeovers. I was like, this is not.
And it was like street takeovers.
No,
Yeah.
my least favorite thing about them is with these news outlets. Any news outlet, if anybody news outlet is watching this,
It's not street racing.
you're dumb. You're just dumb, and you need to stop calling it street racing. These guys are out here street racing. No,
No one's racing.
He's doing this, and that's also drifters will say that's also not drifting. You're just going in a circle, buddy. That's all you're doing.
Hitting
And then they're gonna start a fire in the middle, and then you're gonna go. I was like,
light himself on fire. You see that video?
Yeah.
Dude lit himself on fire
No.
and then got hit.
Well, there's a guy that drove through with a truck and lit
Okay.
his truck on fire.
and
I'm
then
sure that happens weekly,
he
though.
fell into
The gas.
the gas, and then he got lit on fire.
And then he got hit
Yeah.
while on fire.
It was, dude.
It's like, what?
So, you know what's honestly worse than a takeover is the ones that are like legal takeovers where they rent like a skid pad and do the same thing but like legally, because it's so cringe to watch everybody stand around and watch a car legally spin around like that too.
Yeah, because-
it's almost worse. It's like
it was
then you're like, look how boring that is.
already it was not cool, and two, you just made something not cool, and you're like, let's make it more safe. It's like now
Just
you
stop
look like
doing it.
now you look like a nerd, dude. You look like a nerd that still doesn't do something
Go
cool.
to the racetrack and race at the racetrack.
Or go drift.
Yeah.
Like
You
one or
drift
the
at the
other.
racetrack, yeah.
It's like in between. I mean, you're not drag racing at all, but yes,
Or
in
stop-
between
just
stuff.
stop hitting people.
Or find
It's
something
crazy.
else to do. Like maybe cars isn't your thing. Maybe you're not into cars like you think you are. If you have, I'm just gonna say this: if you have your splitter guards still on your Mopars,
Oh.
you're not that into cars.
Fred does not like people with the little yellow bananas.
I have 6 bananas hanging up in my garage right now.
Oh, I need one.
He just rips them out people's
I need
cars
one
at
for
the
my,
mall.
Okay, if they don't go on my garage and my rafters,
Yeah.
they will end up in the trash. They will end up in the landfill, and then these dumpster diving Mopar owners will go in there, grab them, and put them on their cars.
How long do you think Kyle Loftus will leave his on for? Didn't he just
Forever
order
just
one?
to piss Fred off.
No,
Guaranteed.
okay, so did you know?
Have you seen him color match?
Did you know?
Where people get painted.
Okay.
People get him color matched.
Did you know the designers of those cars said once they realized that people were leaving these things on, they're like, no, that's not how we designed the car. Stop it. They wouldn't stop it. So in 2021, they changed the color of the splitter guards to pink, thinking there's no way these guys are going to keep these things on now.
No,
So-
it's a rare one.
So now these guys are just going to get yellow ones or yeah, they leave the pink ones on. I have seen less pink ones on the road than yellow ones. So maybe these guys
Yeah.
are just like finding new old stock yellow ones somewhere. Also, fun fact, Mopar guys, if you get in a wreck or one of these gets ripped off and you go to the dealership, there's no part number for that. There's no part number. You can't order one.
Because it says remove it dealer
To
on
be
the
removed at dealers, what it says stamped into it, embossed into it. You can't get it. You have to go on eBay and spend like $50, $100 for a pair so you can look stupid again.
And you have a bunch of pairs to sell.
They're not going on cars ever
Fred
again.
does not
You could
like
sell
No.
them, though.
That's like one of
I
his
would
biggest...
I would rather just like
Put them on the wall.
I would rather put them on the walls. So if anybody wants to donate some to me, hit me up on the Instagram 1320video or Fred_1320video, and I'll give you an address and they will go up in the rafters
Yeah.
so they'll never go on a car again.
Do you feel like the Hellcat market for drag racing kind of fizzled out? I feel like when they first came out, it was like, this is the next car that you take drag racing, and I feel like I don't see as many.
It was the car that boomers took drag racing.
Yeah.
Because it was, I had one of those, or I wanted one of those, that I wanted a Challenger that was, 1,500 pounds lighter and way smaller back in the day that looked kind of similar. I wanted one of those, so I'm going to get one now, and then I'm going to go to the drag strip, and as soon as the light goes green, I'm going to floor it and just do a burnout for like 60 feet and get, in your 707 horsepower car, you're going to run like a 15, and it's going to be embarrassing for everybody.
Well, even like the Demon, I feel like it's like, oh, remember when the Demon was a thing?
yeah,
Like,
and
I
they're,
never
people
saw 'em.
still buy
think
those
it's-
things for like 130. I don't get
never
it.
It's
saw
like
'em.
street stuff now. I see a lot of high school kids racing the Chargers and Challengers and
Shit.
stuff like that on the
I
street.
had like 80 horsepower when I was in high school. I had like a 8,000 pound Tahoe.
now they got 707.
Kids
I
are
mean,
serious out here.
707.
That's a lot of power.
I just see those a lot. Like
Yeah,
in the
but
roll
okay,
race
they
stuff.
keep saying that. Mopar people like to say 707, 717, or whatever the hell the number is now. The number they're neglecting to mention is 4,800. That's how many pounds it weighs. Okay, so 707 is like 500 horsepower, and a 3,000 pound car is gonna be faster than you. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, it adds up. Like a 240 with an LS will be much more stout than a car like
Hellcat.
that. Yeah, and cheaper.
Yeah.
Or a Fox body. or
But the
something
Hellcats
like
are
that.
very nice cars. Have been some fast ones. I wouldn't mind driving one. I would just never have one with splitter guards on it or
They're nice.
They look,
Set-
I
set-
think they look decent.
707 horsepower would not be on my plate. I'm just going to let you know
Okay,
that right
so
now.
we'll leave the Hellcat guys alone. They've already made their bed and they have to sleep in it.
Yeah.
Every day they have to sleep in their bed that they've made.
They should change their sheets. I'm just saying.
So, what kind of events do you two personally try to avoid when it's like, okay, we got to go to these events this year? Which ones do you guys like?
You just
I'll
not
take-
like going to?
I'll take
Okay,
these
well,
ones.
Hold on.
Like,
I
the
love
street stuff.
I love the
drag
people
strip.
at this event. The people are super nice, and half miles are just boring. I feel like if you're racing yourself, that
So-
could be fun going really fast in your car. But as far as from a media standpoint, it was cool at Pikes Peak when everyone was going for world records and everything's pretty with mountains and amazing runways. But I mean, when you're in like Kansas or middle of nowhere, Texas or Indiana, and there's just really no one coming close to the record, half miles, everything's so
Like,
far away from you.
Like what he said, I get it. As far as a driver standpoint, if you want to go out and you've never floored your car for a
Yeah.
half mile and you want to go as fast as you can, you want to hot lap your stock GT3, go for it. It's gonna be fun. I
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to take.
Yeah.
I'll take the Harlequin out there. It has like 180 horsepower,
Just going
maybe.
as fast as your car
just
can
to
go.
floor it and go as fast as you can. I
Yep.
get it. It sounds fun. But unless you have like the underground yellow car there or something like that,
Going
something
for the world
something that's
record.
going for a world record.
Yeah.
Also, at half miles, there's so many micro records. So it'll be like, this is the fastest NA, this kind of car in this generation. It's like, what?
It's like,
Like, well, you couldn't just be the fastest NA. Like, fastest NA
Like
fourth
you just made that up.
Fastest-
You just made that up on the spot.
fastest NA fourth gen Camaro.
Yeah.
In the half mile. It's like, well, it can't just be the fastest Camaro. No, it's the fastest NA fourth, because it's also not the fastest fourth gen Camaro, because it has to be NA. So it's like there's so many micro records to it. So it's like,
And it's not heads up. You're not
unless
trying
somebody
to beat
brings
the guy to the other end.
somebody brings out a new car that's like just crazy cool, like crazy built, it's gonna break a record, or just super super unique. Those events, like you said, the people that we see at the events, like, we love the racers,
friends.
we love the promoters, they're all our friends and everything. It's just like, for a media standpoint, unless people are breaking records, well, there's just not much for us to do, you know?
Like, if you're at TX2K, you get there at 8 in the morning, you just go into this state of flow where you could snap and they're turning the lights out on you because you've just gotten into, I mean, there's just so much going on. There's always something going on. You always got to be somewhere at the drag race when everything's like, when there's just like a huge race going on. You just are constantly working, and it's easy to really get zoned in. But at a half mile, there's just so much downtime, and one of the biggest things in the action is so far away from you. So you don't, it's so far away from you as a spectator or media or anything. So it's just like, mostly you're just walking around the pits, you know, with cars that are just sitting there. It's kind of like a car show.
So for you guys, like, you were kind of recently at the Puerto Rico one, or that one posted recently.
Yeah.
Like, going somewhere where you see all different cars, none of the cars you've seen before, that kind of makes sense.
It was just exotics, kind of.
Oh,
It was.
all right.
It wasn't
I didn't
anything.
know if it was like some interesting.
There was a
built
couple
stuff.
cars that had made some power, but
R35s and R8s.
yeah, there's an R34 there that was pretty cool. There was cool cars there.
Yeah.
Like, at every half mile we go
Beautiful
to,
cars.
there's cool, unique cars, and those are the cars that we try to do videos on and stuff.
Yeah.
But legit, if it's not a super super unique car, but like, we see, I don't know how many. I'm not shitting on Camaros or Mustang guys, because like, you got your stuff, you can build them fast.
Legitimately, both of those.
I know
people.
you are. But, so
I'm that guy.
So, but like, you bring your 5th, 6th gen Camaro out, or your Coyote Mustang, even if you make like 800-900 horsepower, it's fast car, fun car, all that stuff. Us watching that go to that half mile, like, it's not that exciting for us, and it's not that exciting for probably anybody else. But for you, you're having the time of your life, and I'm jealous of it.
It's a driver's event.
Yeah,
It's not
for sure.
a spectator.
For us, it's like, literally, it's unless, and nobody's trying to really go for the record recently. Like, Underground hasn't really tried to reset their record, I don't think.
I mean, last time they said it was like a good 4 or 5.
Yeah, where were they at with that?
Was it Indiana or
How fast did
Colorado?
they go?
I can't remember, 259 or it was 260. I think they called it
It's
260.
either Indiana or Colorado, the Pikes Peak. But Pikes Peak just redid the runway and want like 6 times the amount of insurance money now from them, and it's just
It
not
was
even
like
feasible.
back in the a few years ago when those cars were going at it. Like, there was a few different shops going for it and trading off with the half mile
yeah.
record.
Yeah, it was
and
kind
then
of hot. They were doing it in Florida.
yeah, and
They
then
had one.
when Casey and Kevin Casey was driving it, but when Casey and Kevin brought it was one of the drag 965 cars out there, went 259, 260. Nobody else really tried after that. I think Lucas went 255 in a GTR, but that was the fastest I think anybody else.
Lucas English.
Yeah.
Yeah, now most people are doing between 200 and 230.
Yeah.
You'll
No, like-
occasionally see a 240 something, but like it's 1 in every 4 events. I mean, it's just, I don't know. You asked. I mean, I'm not like gonna. It's
No,
not.
I
It's
mean,
not bad enough to where I'll go complain about it, like just end conversation. But just, I can't think of anything else that's as slow.
Versus like trying to go to some other fast moving event, like you go to a drag race or even like a no prep race where there's kind of a lot going on.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I love street racing. I love clearing cash days. That's like one of my favorite things to cover. There can be so much downtime with those. Or like if you're getting chased off by cops
Over and
and
over
you're
and
like
over.
you're working on your 4th spot of the
That
night.
sounds terrible.
Like you're working on your
Yeah.
4th spot of the night. You're not through the first round yet, and 27 cars showed up.
And it's 3 a.m.
Brother, you're looking at 3 a.m. There might even be later than that. If it's like
I didn't want to exaggerate.
5, 6 o'clock in the morning on day 1, and you have so many rounds left, and you're just like, oh my god, we're gonna come back tomorrow, and hopefully we got spots tomorrow. And it's just like that can drag on, but like once cash days are done, everything about that makes the story what it is, and that because it's real street racing. You get chased off by cops. You got to go find new spots. You got to These guys are out there scouting new spots because we ran out of spots last night, so they got to find somewhere new for us to go.
When it's working though, and when you finish, it's just like a super satisfying thing, and it's one of those experiences that you can't just buy a ticket to. And I think that's why it's so popular.
I think that's why we've been known for our street racing coverage. It's literally something like what he said. You can't buy a ticket to it. You have to know. We get hit up all the time. Where's street racing at tonight? As if we in any random city we're in, we're gonna know. Apparently, like they always ask
Somebody's
us.
got to tell us,
right? But like, it's one of those things.
The barrier to cover it is really high. Like not just like some dude with a camera can just go out there and cover it. Like you can go out there to TX2K and get a lot of good videos and post them on your channel.
You can chase around groups of people and try to get some stuff.
But
here
it's
and
not
there.
going to be.
But you got to know people to get the
real racing,
to get the good solid racing. You can go watch like teenagers, fuck around with Honda Civics all day. That's not what we're filming. So
yeah, that's kind of where it
doing it
separates.
Doing it as long as we have, we just people get in contact with us and tell us about different races or
but it's changed. Like we said at TX2K, that theme kind of spread around to different areas in the country. Some spots it's still great. Cops will roll up and be like, "Hey, there's a drier street, a town over. Go race there." But then like North Carolina. Holy guacamole, dude. They are impounding cars straight out of driveways and everything.
Well, that was from takeover stuff.
Yeah, but
they changed laws because of takeover. No, they changed
street race cars.
So that they get the street raced cars because of these takeover laws.
Yeah. They went to a spot.
The rules are a blanket rule.
Yeah, they'll get this. So they took, I think they had maybe like 40 cars, or was it 77? They're going for 77 cars. Anyways, let's just say they had 40 cars at this spot that we usually meet for street races, and they had them all lined up in a half circle and said, "We just impounded all of these, and we're coming for yours. Coming in your driveway, your job, wherever your car's at, we're gonna come for it." And it was just like, oh my, like we can't race here anymore. I mean, you literally you get pulled over, you're impounded, go to jail.
Yeah, and how tough is that for you guys?
And
where you're kind of posting these people do this stuff, even though you blur faces and hide cars. It's tough.
We blur faces and we blur plates every time.
Yeah,
faces we ask everybody.
And a lot of people
if you see a Cash Days video of ours and their face is not blurred,
they said
it's because they said they didn't care.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, ever since the show happened, and the show is Street Outlaws,
they want to be famous.
I'm not kidding, dude. When we used to do these, and I'd go up and ask these people, it's like at the end of the thing, it's like, do you want to be blurred or not? Like, a lot of guys are like, or they get, yeah, please blur me. So, okay. And nowadays, like, I don't care.
Nah, tag my YouTube.
Most people are like, I don't care, just blur my plate. And it's like
their IG's on the side of the car.
Like they're gonna go to
QR code.
Like they're gonna go to work on Monday and share the link with all their work friends and show their boss they're on a street racing video. Like nowadays, it's cool. And they want their cars to be seen on our videos and stuff like that.
Well, it's Kyle's catchphrase also, the "I'll make you famous." Mm-hmm. So when you see somebody with a 1320 hat walk up filming, it's a little given, but that is tough to have to blur, and editing wise, that probably adds a lot.
Okay, every time one of these racers is like, "No, I'm good," it's like, all right, the editors thank you, because you just saved them probably an hour on that one person. Mm-hmm. It takes the editors so much time when they got to blur all that stuff.
But the cops have, they've just, certain areas you can't even race anymore. Some areas it's still great, but it's definitely changed. We used to just go anywhere we go. It was a given. Like you go to Streetcar Takeover or go wherever you're going. Well, we got street racing the night before, or we're going out that night to do street racing. Now we pretty much just cover the track events, and if we do a street race, it's planned, and we're just specifically going to film a street race.
It's planned way ahead of time normally, or we know a group that's going. We're at an event. We know a small group that's going out that we're cool with. We're gonna go film.
There's a lot of risk now.
Yeah. How many times do you think it's happened where like a video is like 90% like great, and then like something like that was kind of supposed to happen just like doesn't, and it ruins like a whole video? You know, like.
I can't even tell you how many times it's happened to me.
You know, like you interview like 10 people, and like all of this just kind of like
okay, dude. No,
so close to being perfect.
There are so Kyle and I are kind of like in charge of like the film crews at these events, right? So I'll roll around and I'll interview people like, oh, it's a cool, interesting car. I'll interview them, and I might interview. You know, people don't realize this. Like, oh, they went to that race and they filmed that one guy and they got a video. It's like, no, dude. I was probably following 10 different people that day, and that story either worked out or I had enough passes and the car was cool enough and all this, but. I'll be like, all right, I got these. I'll have in my notes. I'm like, all right, I got these 10 people. All right, cool. They're in these classes. And then by round 2, I'm like, I got 3 people left. Like, and it's like some of these cars can be really badass. But when we're at a track event and you get out first round, your car can be really cool. I have 1 pass of you losing. I can't make a video out of it. And it's like, I wish I could just like have you stay there afterwards and we rent the track and all that, but that's not what we do. Yeah. So we want to get you at an event doing well or going rounds and showing off how cool, unique, badass your car is type thing. So there's been several events where like we show up and like I said, after the first round you got 3 cars left and then you're like, well guys, we only have to pay attention to 3 cars for the rest of the day. So I guess there's that. But then like a couple more rounds go by and you're like, we got nothing. It's only happened a couple like a very small handful of times.
Just kind of fizzles out.
Where everything fizzles out. There was, I think, only one event I've ever been to where I wasn't going to say anything.
You were going to say?
No.
Be gentle on the table, bud.
Yeah, because there was people there that might watch this, and they think that, yeah. Anyway.
It's okay.
You can bleep that out.
No one even knows what it was. I just said a city.
Okay. But
I mean, there's a lot of races that happen there.
That's right. That's true. So we went to an event in a city, and I'm not gonna say the name of the event either, but we went there and we're rolling around and we're looking for cars. We're talking to people. We're just like trying to find something cool, unique, special, fast, all that. And I made a call to Kyle. We were rolling around the golf cart and I was like, I gotta call Kyle. I was like, Kyle, I don't even know how to tell you this. I literally, there's no cars. I have nothing to do a video on. There's nothing. If I did a video, I could have done a video. I would have been forcing it. Like this, I could try to make this car seem cool. It's like, no. And I just sat there, like, I got nothing, dude. Like and he's like, it happens. So I was like, this is the first time it's happened. Like I've never been to an event and just simply could not make a video.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense because a lot of cars are pretty cookie cutter, and
nowadays that does happen.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And you guys are not trying to just film a race; you're trying to highlight things. I know your strategies have changed over time,
right? Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that just film every pass at a race and post.
That used to be us.
2-hour video.
We used to film every pass and then find the cool stuff afterwards. That used to be what we did. Our formula has changed quite a bit over the years, and it's way different now than it ever has been.
Yeah, because that's interesting. I know Matt, when he's like at TX2K, he films every car that goes by for the most part. Like he's up in the scissor lift or somebody's up in the scissor lift.
Those are like recap highlight videos.
Yeah.
So we do film a lot more.
Especially when like the fast cars are going and stuff like that. Well, you know, at 2K, things get wild real fast, especially with last year Can we talk about last year's roll racing or the past 2 years roll racing at 2K? How many cars wrecked?
Yeah.
V10 cars specifically.
I remember. I do remember that. And it was like right at probably like 1,000 feet. I think like 4 cars hit like right at the scoreboard.
Or they'd let out. It's like right as soon as they let out after doing a roll, it was like they just lose control.
R8s, Lambos, GTRs, and a Viper, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of. It was a bunch of different kinds of cars. I heard a lot of different ideas, theories of why people were wrecking or whatever. It's just like, well, there's a lot of factors to take into account, and the fact that these are 2,000, 3,000 horsepower cars,
pushing the limits.
Yeah, you're going down the thing, and you know that you got to get on the brakes right away because you're past the starting line by a couple hundred feet already.
Yeah.
Or past the finish line by a couple hundred feet.
You probably get on your brakes a little too hard in a supercar or something like that. So.
And all of a sudden, it turns around on you.
I got a good one. So, I am from a different country, and I want to come to the U.S. to watch a race. Which race are you going to tell me to go to?
TX2K.
No, Haltech World Cup.
No, that would be. I'm thinking like
or come to an event.
For what, drag racing?
Yeah, you want to come experience the U.S. car culture.
The U.S. car culture, probably TX2K.
TX2K is the Super Bowl of street cars. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Yeah. So if you're into like just straight race cars, period, Maryland.
World Cup finals.
World Cup finals,
That's
period.
the best drag
So
race.
a lot of those cars might roll on the street sometimes, but those are mostly specific drag cars. When you go to TX2K, there's a bunch. Most of those cars I would consider street cars or
yeah,
go on the
drive
street
them to the
regularly.
hotels after.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're into street cars, TX2K. There's no replacement for it, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
FL2K, that's a great event to go to as well, and it's in Florida. So if you want to get tropical, and that happens in October every year, so end of the year.
Yeah, FL2K is my favorite event of the year. I actually built my Camaro because of FL2K. I wanted to race at FL2K.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that were like, I want to race at this event, and
Right.
built a car specifically to race at
Oh, we
an
hear
event.
about that all the time for 2K in Maryland and stuff.
Yeah,
Like
Maryland's a big one too. A lot of those guys don't race any other time of the year.
some of them don't, but nowadays there's so much demand on wanting to get into that race that he's like, you have to turn in a slip, and it has to be within so much time. Mm-hmm. Has to be so many months since that pass. You can't have turned in a slip that was like to prove that your car's fast enough for the class. Oh, well, this slip's 3 years old. We're not going to take that.
Yeah.
You have to prove that you raced your car recently.
Yeah, I've heard of an interesting idea too, where they were saying you have to show a ladder that your name, like you actually made
Oh,
it
that's
through
interesting.
round one of a race.
That'd be interesting.
Because then you're actually also a racer at that point. You're not a test and
Right, so- and
your
so-
car made it past round one
Right.
of some race.
And some people might complain about this, like, well, it's so hard to get into a race like that. It's like, you're right, and it gets harder every year because more people want to go.
It's
and
the
the
best
thing
of
is,
the
there's
best.
there's
Try
only
drag and drive.
there's only so many spots in the pits, and they can't just make the pits bigger. So there's only so many spots. So every year they have to figure out how to narrow it down. And I have no idea how that man figures out all the classes, all the turbo size specs, all the like weight limits for this class and this class, and if you have a 4-cylinder in this class, you can weigh this, and you have this big a turbo. But if you have an 8-cylinder, you have to weigh this. It's like in the same class. Wild. The fact I don't know how they do all the rules for that, but I know it takes them all year.
Are super impressive, and they're actually the rules always crack me up in one way because the one class where there's like a bunch of front wheel drive Civics, and then there's like a couple of scattered Fox bodies that somehow fit the class, even though he keeps turbo sizing them down, still always run through the class and always end up winning, just because they can cut a light and be consistent and they don't break as much. And it's just funny because he keeps trying to slow down like the rear wheel drive auto cars.
I will say a similar thing between TX2K and Maryland is Jason Miller.
Yes.
A few years ago, Peter decided to bring Jason Miller track prep to TX2K, and I think a lot of racers loved it, and a few didn't because their shit broke on the starting line really easily. But I don't think there's a better track you can get. Jason Miller prep track is like the best track that I can think of.
Yeah.
It's pretty tight, but my boy Wade at BMP, man, that guy can throw down. That guy can throw down some track prep.
Okay.
He was the guy.
Now we've been to Bradenton. I don't have any complaints with the
He was
track
the guy
prep.
at Lights Out for a long time.
We actually filmed some guy losing his shoes for like a minute straight. Like, I don't know how it took that long, but it
They
was
might
like,
pick that up, Witty.
Oh shit! Sorry.
I don't know if it can, but it might. Sorry, there's tapping. Yeah, so people lose their shoes all the time. Wade owns a lot of shoes from this. he gets them after. They're his at that point.
they're trophies.
Yeah.
They're trophies.
So drag and drives are the next big wave.
Oh my goodness.
many-
So 2015, let's go back
So
2015 real quick. No prep was the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's 23 drag and drives this year.
And there, literally like 2 years ago, there was maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Before that, there was one.
You had
You had Drag Week that started
For
in
years.
You had Drag Week started in 2005, I believe, and Rocky Mountain Race Week was the next one to do it.
Midwest Drags came in
2015.
at
So
some
it took
point.
Midwest Drags. I don't know when they came in, but
don't
yeah,
either.
the first year for Rocky Mountain Race Week was 2014 or 15.
Yeah, you guys
So-
were on that one, right?
Yeah, and so it's 10 years of that being the only drag and drive, and all of a sudden Rocky Mountain Race Week pops up, and then Rocky Mountain Race Week does 2 events. All of a sudden, when COVID hit and Drag Week said we're not doing an event this year,
That was a
they
power
said
move.
if you're not going to do it that week, all you guys that had that called off, you had your time off work and everything. Well, we're doing an event same week if you guys want to come out and race with us. So now they do 2 events a year, and now Sick Week is going to does Sick Week. They're doing Sick Summer and then Death Week at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then we heard about one that's happening in Nebraska that they're going just back and forth between two tracks like 3 times or something like that. And I was like, what? And I heard one.
You got to do what you got to do, and there's not enough tracks around.
I don't know which one it is. I heard of a drag and drive that's happening in California specifically, and I was like, that sounds like the EPA's wet dream right there.
Yeah.
Like they're just gonna wait outside the track and test every car.
Sounds
and
like a trap.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if we're covered that one. That sounds like entrapment there, but. Drag and drives. Alaska's doing one. Alaska's doing their own drag and drive.
It's the week after Six Summer.
Oh,
so Six Summer ends and Alaska's Speed Week starts that day.
Well, they're even doing the one in Oklahoma that Jared Holt's doing.
King of the Open Road.
King of the Open Roads. He did one last year, yeah.
Yeah.
2 years.
Him and they're doing that one, that's cool. I think there's only 3 tracks, which is nice. I think the smaller ones are really good for entry level.
It's like drag weekend instead of a drag week.
Exactly, and
so you don't have to take off.
Wet.
You don't have to take off a full week for it, and you can kind of see, is this the kind of racing that I'd actually be interested in doing a bigger event for?
Yeah, because it's tough. You have to kind of full commit basically.
Well, that and you
can't just like dip your toes in.
No, and the thing with it is like you have to fully commit 6 months ahead of time. So like these things, like they just did Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0 registration like last week, and that's not till
I think it was like a day or two ago.
Oh yeah, it was like it was like this weekend, but that event's not happening for months and months.
And it's sold out in under 3 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. You have to commit to this right then. Like, I'm taking this car. Your car could be up on jack stands, not have an engine in it or anything, and you got to think, well, I'm going to get ready for this race, and I need to register now. It's like, can you imagine if you set your alarm at the wrong time by an hour, and you're 53 minutes past all the spots being taken up? Like, you got to be on top of it, and you got to commit early, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've signed up for events with a car that's not running as well, and it's like a tough thing. I've signed up for a couple TX2Ks where I'm like,
might make it.
Maybe. And it's like a tough one. It's like, man, that's a big chunk of change to throw down, and then you book your hotels and stuff. But the drag and drive, it's weird because you would think now would be the time where they're getting killed. But now is the time where they're growing.
They're thriving. You would think now is when like EPA would send out like task force.
And
just
tracks are closing.
Yeah,
all over the country.
But drag and drive seems to be a motorsport that people just. Honestly, I think it's just covering it. It's just so much fun. It's like a family. It's like it's every year you come back to, like, let's say Sick Week. That's the most recent one that we just covered, right? We're coming back, you see a lot of the same faces, maybe some new ones, but it's like a family reunion of race car friends, and you get to go on a vacation together with each other to 4 different tracks.
Yeah.
For the week. That's what it feels like, more than like a very huge competitive race, and it is. But it seems like the racing's a lot of fun, and everybody just is there to race. They're having a good time, and it's just like it's literally a traveling family reunion of race car friends.
Do you guys have to have like a lot of, or not have to, but do you have like a lot of sympathy for people sometimes? Like, you know, you're 8 hours from the last track and they're blown up on the side of the road, and you're like, "Hey, bud, what's going on?"
Like,
you almost have to be like, you have to feel bad, but you can't. You have to do your job too at the same time.
They normally know. Sometimes when they see us get out of the car, like we'll pull up, we see them pulled over, so we'll pull out in front of them.
They're like, no.
Will they see us get out of the car, and they're like, no, or they just start laughing as soon as they see us. Other people will go up to them and, like, normally older people that aren't on the internet much or something like that, they're just annoyed that you're there and documenting this. It's like, but at the end of the day, when they see the video of them struggling on the side of the road, they know that they made it to the hotel that night. They're gonna like the fact that was documented.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every time.
Like that every time.
Yep.
There's like this classic image of drag and drive that I always have in my head of Kyle walking up to Doug Cook and telling him should have gotten an LS when he's like laying in the rain under his car. And he's like fixing something after struggling all week, like laying in the rain, and just says should have gotten an LS and walks away. I was like, it's just like the quintessential Kyle on a drag and drive deal.
Well, he gives a speech at Rocky Mountain Race Week, like when we were talking to everybody in the stands. He's like, guys, just want to let you know, like when you're struggling or you got to drop the motor on the side of the road, I'm going to come up to you and ask you questions. I know you're going to be mad, but I'm going to come up and talk to you. I'm sorry.
If you see one of us come up to you, we're just doing our jobs. Don't get mad at us. It's like you're going to see us. So, like, I wonder how many, like, there's There's a couple racers that I know that like he was on the side of the road for like 4 hours waiting for parts. Like he had another racer was going to a parts store to get him parts or whatever. So he was on the side of the road for 4 hours. We come up to him when they had just got the starter and they were just putting it in, and he was like, I was sitting here for 4 hours thinking, I hit the lottery. 1320 isn't going to catch me on the side of the road. And then he's like getting the starter, putting it in. If we would have got there 5 minutes later, we wouldn't have caught him. But he was like, I was here for 4 hours, and you guys got the last 5 minutes, and we got on the road.
Just made it.
It was, yeah.
Was that Royce?
Yeah, it was Royce.
Okay.
Man, last year on Sick Week, I think he broke everything. Like one.
But he keeps.
I love Royce.
He's
awesome.
gotta be hard
They
on parts.
don't give up. Like
His boy Jordan's the one who keeps.
Okay, Jordan and Royce, they're like a two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Like if they're Royce has said that if Jordan, every time that they've done a drag and drive, if Jordan's there, the car is finished.
Yep.
Every single time. So if Jordan's there, the car's finished. So it's like,
Why would he show up without him?
no, well, I think there was one time Jordan couldn't make it. Or
Yeah, I'd
something
be like,
that.
I ain't going.
But it's just like the perseverance that we see out of some of these racers on drag and drives is mind-boggling.
Unparalleled.
There was
for sure.
like the dedication to just like finishing the week. Because there's a lot of racers where like I love asking newbies, first year guys come out. It's like, what's your goal for the week? And they'll be, oh, I'd like to get top 5 in my class, blah, blah, blah. And then I laugh in the back of my head, and then I come back to them on day 4 or 5. I'm like, so what's the goal? I just want to finish, man.
Could probably come back to that
I just
after
want
past one.
just like day 2, day 3, it's like, yeah, we're doing okay. And then like they're fully out of the point standing, or not point standing, but they're fully out of like top 3. They're nowhere close. They're at the bottom. It's like, so what's your goal? It's like, I just want to finish, man. I just want to finish. There was 2 guys on Sick Week this year. They were in like a early 90s boxy Blazer, and it was like a turbo LS steel. They apparently had done Sick Week last year, and they broke and didn't finish. So they said this year we're not going to not finish. The first day, they broke their motor. They broke their block, and when I saw them the next day, they pulled into Bradenton, and they were like, everybody was pretty much gone, and they were pulling in with a trailer. And I was like, what's this? And they came on all quick, and they're unhooked and stuff. I was like, why are you guys so late? And they're like, we had to replace blocks. And I was like, I hear that, and I'm like, he probably just meant engine. He's probably just tired. It's like, you guys replaced the whole engine? He's like, no. We took the rotating assembly out of one engine, or out of one block, and put it in another block. And I was like, and you guys just got here? We haven't slept. We just got here. They just said we got to be in the lanes 15 minutes. We're not going to make it. And I was like, oh, my God. So they got up to the lanes. They made their hit or whatever. On the last day at Orlando, I went and talked to them. They hugged after, like, the pass to complete the week. I thought they were going to cry. Like, these grown men. And they said, we didn't make it last week, and all we wanted to do was make it this week. On day 1, they had to completely rotating assembly out of one block into another block, into the car, barely made it the next day. Like, nobody does that. And they did it for, like, Sick Week has the best slogan, that Tom Bailey's slogan, for the fucking adventure. That's what Drag and Drives is to Tom Bailey's. It's for the fucking adventure. It's like, why would you drive a pro mod on the street and try to do 5-second passes at the tracks? He says, for the fucking adventure.
You gotta really love it. You
have to. It's just like you're battling something. You're battling yourself to make it to the next track, and it's like like there's guys that they have fully built engines, tens of thousands of dollars. They break on day 2. They're calling a junkyard to have a junkyard LS delivered to the track because they're not going to not finish.
Yeah.
It's like just the dedication that these guys have.
Well, I've offered Bronte to come like a couple times, like when I first was going to do it. I'm like, oh, do you want to ride with me? And she's like, and the hesitation was like, you shouldn't go.
If you hesitate
if you hesitate, you shouldn't do it because you have to be really prepared and wanting the punishment somehow.
Right.
And even with you guys filming and photos and editing, like it's a marathon in itself.
Right. Absolutely.
I think people don't realize, like, you guys don't just, it's not just simple cruising.
We're getting like 4 hours of sleep a night as well. I mean, let's say we got to be at the track at like 8 or 9 a.m.
Right.
And so we'll wake up at like 7:30, work all day at the track, drive to the next place while I'm editing in the back seat doing photos. At the same time, I'm hanging out of the car getting photos. We're getting footage Fred's interviewing people at checkpoints. We're working the whole way to this next city. And then we get there. We got to get back. Christian has to stay up and edit the video to get out the next day. I got to stay up, get a bunch of feature posts written up, highlight posts written up, scheduled out for the next day so that I can focus on working while I'm at the track. And we go to bed at like 2 a.m. So, I mean, you go to bed at 2, wake up at 7.
And you would think just like, well, why don't you just leave the track earlier? Like on some days like Bradenton, I'll give for example for Sick Week this year. It's like we could have just like racers, if you do a one and done, you just get on the road right away. For media, for us, well, I'm not getting on the road if some of the fastest racers are still on the property, and there's still a chance that they could make passes. Yeah. So Tom Bailey went up there and he hurt his car, brought it back to the pits. They were working on it, and I was like, "You guys gonna fix it, or what are you thinking?" He's like, "Don't know yet. We're still digging into it." So that don't know yet. We're still digging into it. I'm not gonna not stay and see if Tom Bailey fixes the car, because if he fixes the car, he's gonna go up and try to do a 6-second pass. I'm not going to be the guy that didn't get Tom Bailey, especially when
that's the title thumbnail of the video potentially.
Well, not only that, it's just like
feature.
Every racer there is, they're cool in their own right, but when you're talking about one of the fastest man at drag and drive history, the only man to do a 5, and he's going for 6s and all this, and he could be a top contender in the entire event, we're going to stay. For any racer that's going to be doing that, we have to stay for that. So we're staying till the bitter end of the day racing, and then we get on the road and try to catch up with racers, try to make it to checkpoints. Sometimes, like if you're doing a one and done, we're not going to see you on the road, because if you're doing one and done and you don't break down, hopefully you don't break down, we're definitely not going to see you on the road.
6 hours ahead of us.
Yeah. Some of these guys are leaving, and it's like we're leaving the track, and they're posting pictures of like the second checkpoint from 3 hours ago, and we're like, we'll get there in 5 hours,
Yeah, I think I saw one checkpoint during the day, like light out.
Oh, you left the track that late?
Yeah, well, I was in the last class.
Oh,
so
okay.
Like A group gets their one and done early if they're good.
Yeah, but what sucks for A group is if you don't get a one and done, you have to stick around for them to call all the cars.
That's when I go, basically.
Well, yeah.
I go right before they call everybody. So if you're an A group and you don't get your one pass, you have to wait around with people like me.
Well, at least you could sleep in, though. You could sleep in and not show up to the track till like 11.
I don't think my anxiety would like it very much.
That's fair.
You're like sitting there. You're like, I need to be at the track. Like,
what if they change the order or something?
Like, what if I'm on my way there and a tire pops?
Gives
like,
me
that's how my luck would be. It's like, oh, I slept in. I got all this time. Then I get on the road and it'd be like, something would go wrong then. Then I would be rushing.
I feel it.
And I don't trust myself. I have too bad of luck to not over prepare. That's kind of how I always see things. So I have like a cutoff wheel and stupid things like that. So, racetrack bucket list. Which racetracks?
Bahrain.
Yeah.
That track where you've seen the video of the Lexus that just takes flight and goes like this, just like hovers there and then goes into the track. It's right next to the F1 track that they just I guess that race was.
Is that
today.
where the fence almost like?
Yep, the fence goes up like that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've seen videos of cars going down there breaking records, but there are a couple Pro Mod Lexus cars that have gone flying there or whatever. But Bahrain, I want to go to that track and I want to see E-Canoe's cars run there and all that stuff.
Have you been to Santa Pod?
I have not, but Santa Pod's on the list for me as well.
Santa Pod has to be. It looks so cool.
Japan. I don't care what drag strip in Japan I go to. I just want to go to anywhere in Japan would be cool.
Yeah, that seems like an awesome bucket list spot. Yeah. As far as drag strip goes, it's interesting. I've been to Sydney. That's a really nice drag strip.
It's cool.
That's a good one. It's interesting because do you go where the cars are or do you go where the track is awesome? Because like some places may have great tracks or great cars. Like, maybe somebody dreams to go and watch in Nebraska where they can watch like Beater Bomb and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some people just want to go see the awesome track. What about you? Any bucket list items on your drag strip list?
Not really. I mean, one of our big ones was Alaska, and we went there because there's a giant mountain.
That's so cool.
Right at the end of the track, which is just crazy.
I have a photo hanging in the other room of Alaska.
Nice.
Drag strip, like right down the track where there's the mountain back there.
Yeah, that was really cool to shoot at. All the places that I mean, there's no bucket list. There's been to, like, I love shooting at Vegas because everywhere I shoot, there's pretty much a mountain in the background, so it's super visual, a lot of good lighting.
Yeah, that
When I
Vegas
th-
track's nice.
And when I think of tracks, it's a lot different than like a racer because racers thinking about surface or flow of how they're getting
Right.
through this thing.
Like
I'm thinking about lighting. It's literally all I care about is lighting and what's cool, like what's visually nice. Like Kearney, probably one of my least favorite tracks to shoot at, just because there's nothing there. There's
never a cloud in the
nothing-
sky when we go there.
There's no clouds. It's kind of
weird.
Like
it's hazy.
It's like it doesn't exist, and it's always like 100 degrees minimum. When we
Yeah,
go
It's
there.
hot. It's hazy. There's just cornfields. But like Bristol, gorgeous
Jeez.
mountains, green, and then the red accents on the track. Or you got like
Charlotte's got a vibe to it just because it's so
Z-Max.
wild.
You have all the seats.
Yeah,
have-
you feel so
hits are
insignificant at
nice.
Z-Max.
You see four wide roll racing and seats that are supposed to hold 40, 50,000 people.
A lot of good spots to take pictures there. A lot of cool angles you can get.
But as far as bucket list though,
I just don't
Have you seen that
anything.
new drag strip they just built like on a mountain in
half or
That's on-
almost Heaven's Landing.
yeah, it's
It's
on
an
our
eighth
list.
mile.
It's on our list.
yeah.
In West or Virginia.
I think
don't
it's in
remember.
West Virginia.
Yeah,
Virginia.
it looks like it's on top of literally a mountain. When you see like quarries going around it, it's
Last we
Really
looked,
cool.
there's
We wanna
no
go there for
events
sure.
on the schedule for it yet, but that's on. I guess that's kind of a bucket list. It's not anything like super wild, but from a drone, it looks really cool. I'm curious how
Yeah.
it'll look when you're taking pictures.
True.
It might just.
so.
don't know.
This isn't a drag strip, but the Salt Flats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which hopefully
That's a bucket list.
hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works out. We're going this year.
Speed week.
Oh, nice. Who are you guys trying to go with?
We don't even know.
clue.
No one.
We've
I
never
just want to
been.
take pictures.
Yeah, we
Keith
just want to
Turk-
go and see this stuff.
Yeah, Keith Turk told me that he asked, "You taking a picture at Salt Flats?" And I said, "Nope." He's like, "You've never taken a picture then." He's like, "You haven't taken a picture until you've taken a picture."
In the way Keith Turk talks, right?
Yeah,
So I'm not a real photographer yet. I really want to become one someday. I mean, Wes Allison, I think. Wes definitely has taken a bunch of cool pictures there.
Yep.
Keith said that you got to take pictures at the Salt Flats. So
Yeah,
Keith told me all sick week how much he hates drag racers.
yeah.
He kept telling me how whiny drag racers are.
Yep. Keith has gone 200
like
miles
Keith.
an hour on like every continent, I think.
Really?
He's
Damn.
he's an ex-Apache pilot. He's a bad motherfucker, dude. Like, I wouldn't fuck with Keith. If
like
he's
Keith.
not gonna kill me, he knows somebody that'll kill me. Like Keith. Also, I'm not gonna tell the secret. Never mind. I was gonna say there's a secret to
We're
getting.
pretty far in now. Most
Okay,
people won't
okay.
hear it.
There's a that's fair. If you're on Keith Turk's bad side, okay. If he's mad at you, annoyed with you, you asked him a dumb question, you just stood there and looked dumb, and he doesn't like you. There's so many reasons Keith Turk cannot like you, right? Get him a Diet Coke.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. Get him a Diet Coke. So some people will go through a pack of cigarettes a day. He has to go through a pack of Diet Coke a day.
Okay.
That man, if I see him without a Diet Coke, something's wrong and he's not having a good time.
Well, that's good because he told me he would come on the podcast. He got his
Did
card
he?
from Sick Week. Yeah.
So have
Have
So
a
I'll
Diet Coke
a bunch
right
of Diet
here.
Cokes ready for
Yeah.
Right here.
I'll just
I'm
get
saying
a
like
case of them.
and I think he prefers metal, so make sure there's a can.
Okay.
Chilled can. I don't know the temperature.
Some cans of
I'm sure
Diet
it's-
Coke. I'll put it in like an ice thing and everything. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
when you get like bottle
Oh yeah,
service.
yeah.
He's gone
He knows a
200
lot.
miles an hour.
He's
and
done a lot.
He's gone 200 miles an hour on so many different land speed surfaces.
Yeah, that's like kind of the other cool thing you guys get to do is just talk to these people.
And what's cool is like I'll talk to them, and I might not know anything that they're talking about, but they knew who we are, so they're gonna give us the time of day, which I appreciate. They'll talk to me like these racers at the Swamp Buggy thing. I have no idea what I'm looking at, and they'll look at me and they'll just explain it to me in like layman's terms so I can understand it. And I'll ask more questions like I would at a normal race or anything like that. But like people will tell us about things because they want us to do a video on it. They want it to get bigger. They want people to see it.
Yeah,
type stuff.
that makes sense. They're trying to make their sport, their segment grow.
Yeah.
Like we all are. I mean, we all want drag racing to grow and racing to grow. More cars being built
Yep.
is good for you guys.
It's I mean,
good for
I think it's good
everybody.
for. I think it's good for freedom.
It's good for all of us.
It's good for liberty.
For sure.
Okay.
Well,
I forget who said it, but I know there's a quote that's like that somebody said that cars are one of the last great freedoms in this country. Like, there's
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
If you're not in California, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we kind of have the last true freedom segment of what we can do, and it's slowly getting chipped away.
You can just get in a car of any kind and just get in and just drive. Just go
Yeah.
wherever you want to go. You don't have to tell nobody. I mean, it's just like
You don't stop at the borders of every state to show papers like you would in like Europe or something
Yeah.
like that. And it's just like you just drive
Yeah.
and go wherever you want.
whatever car you're in. A lot of places like Nebraska, I mean, you can just build your car and go drive
There's
around.
no emissions testing. Like you can just do whatever you want.
That's
Yeah.
what Florida is. We don't have emissions testing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of states do. I mean, New York has all kinds of inspections. They'll fail you for everything.
Oh, yeah, same with California.
Yeah, like some
Don't
cars
look-
should
don't
be
move there.
inspected. I'll be honest.
Yeah, there's some things a little sketchy,
know?
but I'd rather be there a couple sketchy ones than nothing cool at all.
Maybe
on
if
the
you get
roads.
pulled over, a cop should be able to send you for an inspection because some cars, you
Yeah.
know, have 4 bald tires and are a hazard to everyone. But,
Fair.
but that's about it. Guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Where can
dude.
they find you guys both at? Instagrams.
Fred_1320video on Instagram. Fred White and Blue on YouTube. And yeah.
And crystal clear _1320 video, but it's CRYSTILL. So it's like still images, crystal clear.
Okay, I'll put that in the description.
Cool.
For you guys. Well, guys, go follow them. Go check them out. They both post some really cool behind the scenes of what 1320 is kind of doing and all that kind of good stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it saucy. We will see you next time.